Cayman's top news headlines of the day from CMR.
Exclusively on Kiss FM by J. Michael, fashion for everyone. Good morning, Sandy.
Hey, good morning, Blake and Aaron. How are you guys doing today?
We are good. What you got for
Beautiful day in the Caribbean. So let's talk about the mini bus strike that happened yesterday morning.
It was a mini bus strike because I have some friends in town and they were able to get around no problem on a taxi.
Yeah, taxis were not involved.
Not a bus.
Oh, so different. That's different.
Yeah, yes. So it was just public buses.
Gotcha.
And basically they were upset about a change that came down on Friday, which they say they were not informed about, and they were just being written up and given citations. So,
by the way, they all looked very happy with you in your photo that you posted. So they didn't seem too disgruntled. I don't know.
Was the change that?
Essentially that they couldn't, the number 2 buses couldn't go on Eastern Avenue, and they're coming out of West Bay. But their point, which eventually the ministry, and even public transport agreed with, is that 90% of their customers coming out of West Bay need to go in the vicinity of Eastern Avenue, whether it's for work or they work in West Bay and they're trying to get back home. So after a 12:30 early afternoon meeting, the government reversed the decision.
Great. What was the reason for having that decision anyway? What's the problem with having a bus?
I think it was there for some time. And the attitude was like, oh, nobody in the last administration actually enforced this, so let's enforce it. And then no one thought about, let's speak to the drivers first. What was the logic behind doing it in the first place?
Yeah, none of those people making the decision take the bus.
No. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know there were bus stops anyways. They just stop wherever they want. So or go wherever. So I mean, I see them everywhere that there's not even a bus stop around. So I didn't even know there was any rules enforced in the first place.
Yep. So a bit of bad news. Yesterday, unfortunately, we had mentioned, I think, in the morning that there was a pretty serious accident.
Yeah, this is terrible.
On West Bay Road in front of Queen's Court. And later on, the police confirmed that cyclist was, unfortunately was killed in that incident. So pretty sad.
So sad.
We extended condolences to his family. It had not been an island for very long, and was trying to make a better life for himself and family. So incredibly sad.
Worked at Tilly's.
Yeah.
That's very sad. And so they arrested the driver who hit and ran.
Yes, thank God they got him.
Good.
Do you know who the driver is?
Alcohol was involved, apparently.
Not yet, but I'm sure we will in due course. So, and then in other news, remember the rental scammer lady?
Yeah.
Well, she has been formally charged with multiple counts of theft, and she appeared in court yesterday. So this was pretty swift.
And was Cayman Road in court?
No, we were out with the bus drivers.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. And yesterday's program, in case your listeners might have missed it, I would suggest they go back and listen to yesterday's show, because we had DJ Renato's rape victim on the program.
I listened to some of it, and it was
it's hard to listen to, but
heartbreaking. But you did a wonderful job, and it was good that she was even open to speaking out about something like this, because a lot of people won't.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very. It was a very difficult thing for her, for sure, and even for myself to kind of go through it. But, she's brave. And so I thought, well, gosh, my bravery in comparison to what she's been through is absolutely nothing. So I was there for it. And she's an amazing young lady.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So those are some of your news headlines.
Thank you, Sandy. You can catch Sandy's show right now in just about 45 seconds on Bobo 89.1 FM. We'll see you tomorrow for the Friday headline.
Yay. Have a good one.
All right.
All right. So good morning to everyone. We'll be kicking off here just shortly, about another 30 seconds or so. Morning, Aliano, First Lady, Jayanne. Gina is in the house. Alejandro, Miss Carmely. Let me just grab some of my links to send out to the WhatsApp group, and then we're going to get started.
Bigger, better, bolder. The cold, hard truth is taking talk to the next level. Right here on Bobo 89.1 FM, Cayman's community radio.
We are still spilling the tea.
And committed to being part of the change that Cayman so desperately needs. Join Sandy Hill weekdays from 7:30 a.m. for Premier Access, Cayman Voices, Truthful Thursdays, and much more. Cayman's #1 talk show is now bigger, better, bolder, and more than talk. Getting results with hot topics, consumer reports, court exposés, and more.
Come to set the record straight. I've come to shine the light on you. Let me introduce myself. I am the cold, hard truth.
Now, from the CMR studio in Grand Cayman,
Live, direct.
it's the cold, hard truth. Now, join the conversation on 345-936-2626.
That number again is
345-936-2626.
All right, good morning, my beautiful people. Rise and shine. How are you guys doing? How is everyone? Got some early risers who are here. Even before we hit that live button, they're like, hello, I'm here and I'm ready. Alejandro, good morning. They did catch the man in the hit and run. So we have some guests who are coming on to talk about the beautification at about 8 o'clock. So we will definitely be chatting with them. And in the meantime, we're going to talk about a few other things that happened yesterday, as well as, maybe even the day before. Some days when we have guests scheduled, it's like that's the day that everything is going to pop off and start to happen. And it's Murphy's Law, honey child. Murphy had a couple laws, apparently. And so we're here for it, try to balance the news and what we bring you. One of the things I really enjoy is the variety of this show. So good morning, madam. On air. Yeah, started already, 7:30. Yes, ma'am. All right, folks, we start some time around here. We ain't got no time, honey child, to be starting late. So if you're trying to catch me before the show starts, that means that you got to catch me before 7:30 because the show starts at 7:30. Yes, my darling. Anywho. So, let me get one of my hand wipes here, honey child. I keep these now conveniently located in the office because sometimes I'm looking for one. I got to go run and get a stash out. Yeah, so, I like the variety that is involved in this program. So yes, some days we talk politics, but who wants to talk politics every day? I mean, honestly, even that would bore me to death because, sometimes them politicians kind of boring. And other times they have interesting stuff going on. So I like the variety of community stuff. Listen, sometimes your parents, I just want to talk about the struggles of being a parent and all those things, Sometimes we're going to talk about my natural hair journey. I mean, look at it. I went and got a little color yesterday. It's coming along. It's been growing and it looks a lot healthier and it's not falling out as much anymore. So we're getting there. Thanks, Rocio. So yeah, there's a lot of different things that, you try to work on. So anyway, let me talk about yesterday. I think yesterday's conversation was quite an important one in terms of what happened. So as you guys know, if you listen to up to the end of the program, the bus drivers were calling me to say, hey, we really need your help. We got a situation. We're on strike. I was like, bus drivers on strike? Oh my gosh. Honey child, there's always something going on. And I thought, all right, we were trying to have them. Now their strike was a little bit different. They didn't have any placards and they weren't walking up and down in the streets. Their strike was like, we're going to park off and we're simply not going to move. Morning, Miss Yasmin. Wee wee's in the house. So, yeah, it is, but listen, a bus strike can be detrimental to this country because there are people who use the public bus system, even tourists. So when I first drove by, I saw people, an unusual amount of people sitting on, like, I don't know, is there a little wall or something there? But there's somewhere for them to sit kind of in front of that Monaco building, like where the Starbucks is. They were all sitting there. And I thought, I wonder how many people this is going to impact, So anyway, I went and parked my car. Big shout out to the folks over at Bluestones, still one of their parking lots and parking spots. And as I was getting out of my car, life can be so interesting in an amazing way. Like, how I always say to you guys, morning, Carrie Ann, Miss Teresa's here. I always tell you guys, you're right where you're supposed to be. I find that if you go through life understanding that to be the case, you stress a lot less, right? So sometimes you're like, oh my God, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I need to rush to get on the bus right now. And if I miss the bus, like, take a break, take a minute, take a breather. We're always rushing everywhere, but you're right where you're supposed to be. Even when you're not in a good situation, you are right where you're supposed to be. Yeah. So here I am walking. Actually, I was by the car still trying to get stuff out. Child, when you do what I do, you got to travel with stuff. I got a trunk organizer. And in that, I'm trying to keep my tripods. I got a miniature tripod, which is like handheld and it can be used on the desk. I've got the big long tripod. Listen, you got to be ready. Multiple microphones. My husband's always like, do you need to buy another microphone? I said, listen, you never know when a microphone's going to break, when something's going to happen. And unfortunately in Cayman, when those things happen, I can't just walk into a Best Buy or an Amazon pickup location and pick it up. You know what I'm saying? So I got to plan ahead for these eventualities, quite frankly, because everything eventually breaks or has an issue. So I always got to have a little extra equipment on hand. And so I was pulling out the microphone and stuff like that. And these two ladies kind of walked by and they saw me. And I find that especially with tourists, they're so much more comfortable asking a woman if they're lost or if they don't know, where they're going or whatever. They're very, very comfortable saying, hey, can you help me? And so they're like, oh, we're trying to get to the bus depot to get to the beautiful beaches. I was like, oh, this is so ironic. I said, actually, I'm going to the bus depot myself because they're on strike. And they're like, oh, what? On strike? Why? And I said, well, that's what I'm going to go find out. So these ladies were so nice. And then we started to talk. I don't even know how they started telling me, Oh, so one lady said, oh, you're a journalist, you're in the news business. And I said, yes. And she said, so am I. And I said, really? Such a small world. And then she proceeds to tell me, yes, that she's from Poland originally. I think they've lived in the States for like a really long time, but they go back and forth all the time. And she's like, yeah, I'm from Poland and this, that, and the next thing. Then she starts talking about the Ukraine situation. And I was like, this is so amazing, because just this morning on my program, I was talking about, and we had a specialist on the program, the war in Ukraine and Russia. And I said, you know what? This might seem a little bit unusual, but then they're from the States. Nothing's unusual when you're from the States, believe me. I said, would you mind giving me, a quick street interview? And they were like, absolutely not. Wow. Talk about being right where you're supposed to be. This amazing opportunity presented itself just out of nowhere. And this is what happens when you talk to people. That's why you can't be afraid to talk to people. What are the chances that I would be just in the right place at the right time to buck up on two ladies from Poland on the same day that we were just talking about the whole situation in Russia and Ukraine? And get this, even better than that, both of these ladies are military women. One is a military service person in the United States of America, and the other one in Poland. She's on the reserve list. So she's like, if this war gets any bigger, I could be called into the war because I'm on the reserve list. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Amazing opportunity. So sometimes, honey, chill, when opportunity comes a knocking, you have got to be ready. And chill, I had my microphone ready. I'm like, ladies, here's the mic. Let me connect it to the phone, tripod ready. Let's chat. And it was an absolutely amazing 10 minutes with them. And I'm going to share that interview with you guys here this morning. So, like I said, you're right where you're supposed to be. Even in the tough times, you're there for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Take the lesson from it, folks. You are right where you're supposed to be. So First Lady Jayanne says, my 3-month-old is watching too. Aw, good morning from my son to you all. He is so used to hearing Sandy's voice, you want to see him looking. Oh my goodness, that is so precious. Oh my goodness. I'm part of his morning routine too. Alejandro says, my daughter be trying to join the show. Remind me when I was younger and Mr. Charles Glidden was the person to listen to. Oh, that's funny. How old is your little one, Alejandro? Yes, well, we're coming up on a youth program, but things are different with our young people. You can't be taking the old stale format to them and expect for them to get excited. But I must say, I'm always tickled pink when I meet young 14 months old, so adorable. I'm always tickled pink when I meet young people as young as like 7, 8, 9 who say that they listen to the program and they're like, the parents like, oh my gosh, they're your biggest fan. And I'm like, really? Oh, I love it. Something special to be said for kids who are engaged in their community. And I'm glad that they find me interesting enough to, be wanting to engage with me. I think that's pretty awesome. All right. So let's watch this video. Like I said, it was very, very impromptu. Then we've got the Beautification Committee who's going to be coming on the program today. Let me tell you what else I got on the agenda that I want to talk about. I want to touch on the fentanyl in the Cayman Islands. This is a very serious situation that we're looking at. I want to touch on, let me just see what else was on the agenda. Got a couple things here, honey child. The bus depot update. So we'll do that one first because it had a very interesting outcome. And then also Judith Douglas, aka Cayman's biggest thief, an update on her as well. All right, stay tuned. right, folks. I was just here actually going to the bus depot to find out what's going on over there about the strike, and I ran into these two beautiful ladies. They were actually asking me, ironically enough, where's the bus depot? Because you guys want to go to the beach, right?
That's right, yes.
So you're here off of the cruise ship today, off the Celebrity Cruises.
Yes.
Tell me, and you're just telling me a little bit about who you are, and you're from Poland, which I think is amazing, because just this morning we were talking about that part of the world with Ukraine and Russia. So tell me, from someone who's from Poland, what's experience like, and what are you guys experiencing in Poland?
Yes, hi. My name is Małgorzata Borkowska. I am basically born and raised in Poland, live in the United States for 33 years. But I am also the journalist and going very often to Poland. I just been there for the New Year's Eve, and I just came in January. The situation, what you basically they showing on the TV, it's very sad, but it's not really correctly, because a lot of people, we have like Poland took like 7 million of the people to from the Ukraine through the borders.
So that's 7 million refugees. Have crossed over from Ukraine to Poland. That's a lot of people.
They need help. So basically, they have a lot of privilege in Poland, and the Polish people, they like kind of put a little bit on the side, like we have problems in the hospitals, they are overloading, and everything basically, when you see it's all the Ukrainian refugees. What is so sad, also they have the American base, very close to the borders, and what I can tell you, it's very sad for these people who actually stay in their home, and they don't want to leave the animals, they don't want to leave wherever they have belongings. They suffered, because they don't have any medications, they don't have the pain pills, they don't have basically all this stuff what you need for the basic living. We're not talking about even the front line, because I can't imagine how it's going over there. My brother, who lives in Poland, he has the Ukrainian wife, and he opened calls the Angel Foundation, .pl, and he bought the ambulance. The ambulance went to the front line. He also bring with the ambulance a lot of like vests for these people, the medications, and some stuff what he cannot even tell to help these people.
Wow.
So how much we can help these people who actually it's there. Because in Poland they are so lucky. The Poland it's suffered because we have 7 million extra people. What we have to give.
What is the population of Poland before those 7 million?
About 42 million.
So that's a lot of people to influx in at one time, pretty much in the last year.
Yes. And also what I want to say, a lot of, countries like Slovakia or Romania and the Hungary, they just denied to take these people. And I am very proud of the Polish people, because they suffered right now. They have the extra people, and they are like kind of Ukrainians because of the war, and we understand that they have the privilege, but the people who living there, everything, the prices raise up so high. They struggle. Regular people struggle, and we are very sorry. We have the heart with Ukraine and everything, but I think so. The Poland needs help too in this situation, and we don't know what's going to be next. So. It's the fears. We're living in the fears.
I was asking this morning about how soon this war might end, because it's gone on way longer than anybody anticipated. Is there any idea, like, do you hear anyone in Poland saying, is it going to be another couple months, another 6 months? Like, what are we looking at?
Be honest with you, we don't know. You don't know. I grew up in under the Russians communists. This is because I am almost 60 years old. So
you look beautiful.
Thank you. So I know the times. I remember the times what everything was changing from the communists to the Democrats. But it's very hard to say. I don't think so. He's not stoppable. This is what it is.
Wow.
And we pray. We just have to just pray, believe this is end very soon, because we are so sorry for these poor people.
All
And
Europe is suffering from the war.
yes.
The whole world, really,
That's
but
the
whole
definitely
world is
Europe.
going, but Europe especially is happening next to us. But
And
the projection was about, at first the projection was about 5 months, then it was 7 months, then eventually
Now it's over a year.
We just had an over a year anniversary. And
Yeah.
like I said, we are standing united with Ukrainian people in
Yes.
this war, definitely.
Yes.
We're, like Gosha said, we are very, very proud to have all the Ukrainians in Poland helping out. But then again, it creates a stress on countries that are providing the kind of help.
Yes.
So with that being said, I mean, I think we pray for the peace on earth and peace in Europe, especially peace for Ukrainian people, especially with the
whole world.
The whole world.
Yeah.
But with the situation now, I mean, they're saying that it's projected to be the next year to 3 years, which is going to create even more deficit and inflation in Europe.
Yes.
And I think that we need to stop those senseless wars
Yeah.
that make no sense.
What would you say to people? Because we have a few people here who blame, like they're like, oh, it's the Americans' fault. Why this has happened? They're blaming other people. What is your response to them when you hear stuff like that?
Oh, absolutely not. So.
You are in the military.
Yes, so my name is Jolanta Juelarasi, and I was in military. I was in Captain U.S. Army. I actually retired a year and a half ago from U.S. Army Reserve 452nd Combat Support Hospital.
Yes.
And I can tell you, as far as the Americans, we don't want to have a war, nor we are starting the war anywhere else. What's happening right now, we are contributing with the weapons and help to Ukrainian people so they can have a fighting chance against the empire of Russia and Vladimir Putin. Without our help, Vladimir Putin would have taken over Ukraine already, probably in the second month of this war. So right now, what you see right now, we are helping Ukraine to preserve democracy and freedom, which eventually, this is the planning why we're doing this. So we want to preserve the freedom, democracy for all the countries in Europe, because it won't stop there. And we understand that this is a stopping point. If we can beat Russia in Ukraine, it will be definitely a peace in Europe, which will be the peace around the world. And that's truly why we are all helping Ukraine at this point, and we standing in solidarity to have Ukraine winning this war. And we are hoping and projecting that the Ukrainian will win with our help.
Because the next question is if Ukraine doesn't win, is he going to come from Poland next? Is he going to go?
It's a lot. It's a lot. Actually, I talked to a lot of Ukrainian people, and this is what they say. It's going to go to Poland, and I am actually in the military in Poland. So if I going to Poland, I have to go by the rules in Poland. So I'm gonna go on because I'm under 60, so I'm gonna go to the war.
Wow.
I am in the reserve. Also, my son-in-law is gonna be deployed end of this month, to Poland. The situation, it's really unknown, but it's very, very. We're afraid. We don't know what's going to be the step of the Vladimir Putin. But I am afraid with this. You see, I used to be the one when I was a child when the explosion was in Chernobyl, and I am afraid he has the free weapons as nuclear plantations over there. So I hope this is not going to happen. I hope he's not going to start World War III, and I hope he's not that, terrible person go after the people in Poland because they help. This is humanitarian help. This is what will everybody, and I am so proud. We are not standing by like the other countries and looking these people suffered.
Yes.
Like was in the World War II or stuff like that. My parents was in the World War II, so they are the children of the World War II, and my grandparents. So, and at the time when I was serving in the military, we never was prepared to the war like that. We was prepared for the nuclear, biological, and chemical war. And this is what I am afraid. I am afraid to start this, and this will be terrible for everybody.
Wow.
So one thing what we have, the prayers, and just I don't know, just find a way to make a peace. Stop fighting. Stop fighting for, and suffered for this. This is our future for our children. This is, we have to protect that. No more war. This is what you were saying after war, after World War II.
Yes.
No more wars. No more fighting. And whatever is they want to just land or whatever, and find a way, find the peace, because it's for everybody, for our children, for our grandchildren, for the future
of the world.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Thank you, ladies, so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, this
Very
was
nice to meet
amazing.
you.
Thank you.
We're so sorry we cannot see the beach.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and see what's going on over there. That's
We
people.
can see the beach.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, thank you, ladies.
All right. Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Well, I'm happy to say that again, the theme, you're right where you're supposed to be. So after doing this interview by the coffee shop, I then said to them, well, come with me to the bus depot. Let's see what's going on. And we were about to cross the street, and another bus was coming by. And this bus driver rolled down his window. He said, hey, Sandy, what's going on? Are you going to be here for a little bit? Because I want to talk to you. And I said, yes, I'm going over to the bus depot. But these ladies are trying to get to the beach. And he said, tell them to come, hop on. I'm heading there right now. So they were able to see our beautiful beaches because they were right where they were supposed to be. So, listen, 7 million people have been displaced just in Poland alone. And they said that there's some other European countries who are not opening their borders to the poor people of Poland. And it's really, really unfortunate. So sad. Jonathan says he doesn't care. He's like, why are we talking about Ukraine again? Jonathan, I think one of these days you're going to wake up and realize that Cayman doesn't operate in a bubble, and that everything that happens around the world has some sort of impact on us, whether it's interest rates, price of food, availability of food products and food security. And you're going to really care. Kicking off World War III, you don't think that matters to you and that's going to have an impact in your life? Man, it must be a luxury to be so naive and to live in such a bubble. You need to tell me what your formula is other than smoking pot, because I suspect that might be exactly what the problem is. You can't not care about anything else that happens in the world, because everything that happens around you has some sort of an impact. Cayman doesn't live in a bubble. We're not the island that time forgot. Even when we were the island that time forgot, we were still relying on outside help and outside resources and so on. So I don't know what to tell you. But if you don't care about these topics, just simply don't listen, put it on mute. You can do that. You've got the freedom to listen to whatever you want to. But I really hope that people, first of all, what struck me about these two ladies was their impassionate plea for the end to this war, right? The end to this aggression. It was interesting to hear the one lady, and I don't know if they're mother and daughter. I didn't really ask what their relationship was, but it was definitely interesting to hear the one lady on the left say that she remembers being under the Russians, right? She remembered Poland and the Russian government. And based on what she said, it was not a good experience. They're not anyone to put on a pedestal. She says she remembers Chernobyl and what happened there. When people grew up with war and aggression, even from their neighbors, it impacts not just the quality of their life, their mental health and wellness. And, those are things that they simply never forget. So I'm sorry, Jonathan, if you don't like the topic, but ask me if I care. Y'all know the answer already. Go ahead, ask Sandy. Sandy, do you care if Jonathan doesn't like talking about Ukraine? This is me in my best possible caring voice. No, I don't care at all. He says, I'm going to go over to Radio Cayman. Okay, there's 3 people over at Radio Cayman right now watching on YouTube. I think they could use a 4th person, Jonathan. Go right ahead. They might be talking about something of interest to you. Aliano says it's senseless warfare, and I'm not going to conspiracy theory level here, but keep your eyes open. I don't know. Why do you guys love a conspiracy theory, though? You know, if it smells like a rat, it looks like a rat, it moves like a rat, it's probably a rat. In most instances, something is exactly what it appears to be. There's no need to look for some ulterior motive or to look for a conspiracy. I mean, I'm always mispronouncing Putin's name, Putin, whatever the heck his name is. But listen to me, the man is certifiable. He's not playing with a normal full deck. He's at another level. And he's even jailing his own people who don't agree with this war or who would dare to even call it a war. He's like, it's not a war. Really? You've killed how many people? You've bombed hospitals, killed babies and women, sexually assaulted and gang raped people. You're the aggressor and this isn't a war? This is a peaceful occupation? It struck me about how people try to rewrite history. There was a, I'm going to have to dig that up for you guys. There was a podcast a few months ago that I was listening to about what happened to the Germans, and specifically during World War II. And it's just fascinating how many deniers there were about how the Jews were practically just almost wiped from the face of the earth. And if other good people around the world, including, all of the Allied forces, the Americans, the English, France, everybody else, didn't stand up at some point and said, whoa, this is too far. But by then, millions of people had lost their lives. The concentration camps were absolutely horrific, what they did to people, how they tortured. They even had a woman who was a sadist. Like, I don't know what she was into, but she was doing all kind of sexual stuff to people. And she was just crazy. And the thing about it is she was actually pretty young. I was surprised given her age that she was into that. Not that age is a deterrent to being crazy or certifiable, masochist, sadist, the whole 9 yards, but she took the cake. I think they eventually got her and executed her, but yeah, she was into the most torture, and she enjoyed apparently having sex with a lot of the Jewish people and torturing them. Kind of crazy, but you cannot forget the travesty of war and what it brings. Even if it's not directly on your doorsteps, one day it could be. And for me, there's always so many human lessons that we can get from others and their situation. And that's why I think it's really, really important for us to pay attention, right, to what's happening elsewhere in the world. It's easy to pretend like our little paradise is perfect and we all stick our head in the sand, or we just complain about what things are happening here. And that complaining in isolation is also part of the problem. Because, when people sit back and say things like, what's this government going to do about the cost of living? And I'm like, well, what's the world going to do about the cost of living? And how do you expect this government to control the cost of living when it is a worldwide situation that they have zero control over? You've got to really understand the implications of all of it. I don't know. It's just a hot mess. But I mean, those two women were very, very passionate, and they were saying, please, let's see how we can put an end to this. But can you imagine having some 7 million people injected into your country, refugees? We're complaining about a couple. Are we even up to a couple hundred Cuban refugees and the impact that has had on us? Obviously, we're a much smaller country, land size and population wise, but still, even if you did it on a per capita basis, we would be sinking if we had that kind of issue. And the concern about refugees and the fluctuation of refugees, not just for war, but even economic tough times. Everybody understands that the situation in Cuba is never going to get any better under this current communist regime. And the people there in Cuba have to agitate for change. But there's also a responsibility on the entire world to put pressure on the Cuban government, the governments of Russia and elsewhere, to really do the right thing by their people, because it does impact us. Look at the boats that keep coming in our direction. If you sit back and think that we shouldn't care, I think that that's a problem. We almost have no choice, right? But to care. Janetta says, good morning. You got to be open-minded and educate yourself on new things. John says that there's too much weed smoking going on. Ooh, honey child, John. Good morning.
Good morning, Sandy. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I was just wondering, I remember early on into the war, there was a story about a Jamaican that was married to a Ukrainian, and he and his family were headed towards Poland. Do we know any more about their, the status of how they're doing, or if they made it, or I remember that.
Yeah, we didn't hear any further updates. I think we just assumed that hopefully they got to Poland. But yeah, we actually have not heard any more updates on that.
Yeah.
And that, like you said, this is another example of how, there's people these are people. Like, I think sometimes we forget.
Exactly. Yeah.
When we talk about the casualties of war, we forget that these are families, these are people. I'm not sure if she got disconnected or if she hung up, but yeah, these are casualties of war, folks. And wow. And they're individual stories that really bring it home. Like, I wish that I could, part of me does and part of me doesn't. I wish that I could go into a war zone and see it for myself and report, talk to these people and really try to bring it home to you guys, because I feel like human beings have a way of disassociating from tragic situations that are happening to other people. As long as it's not happening to us, we seem to be okay with it, which is, I think it's just how the mind works. And maybe it's part of what keeps us a little bit sane, because if we took on every single person's, tragic situation, we'd be so burdened down emotionally and psychologically, we might not be able to operate. But I think that there's a degree of, we just lack sympathy, we lack empathy, we lack the ability to really think in real terms of how the lives of these people have been turned upside down. Even in Haiti, the situation in Haiti is another perfect example. You can't go outside of your home. Forget going outside of your home. Even if you're in your home, you're afraid of being kidnapped, assaulted, and killed. And it's a real threat. I was listening to an NPR podcast where every time people are going out to, say, go from Savannah to Georgetown, they have to try to figure out what gang has taken control of the highway, because, if it's a gang that's not favorable in their area, they're going to be killed. Can you imagine that? You're going to get out of your car. I know y'all complain about traffic, but imagine if you had a bigger concern. And your bigger concern was that if you go out on Shamrock Road, some gang has taken over that's not going to let you get from Shamrock, from Lower Valley, Savannah to Georgetown. And the bigger issue is that we as human beings have to understand that the same people who are capable of atrocities in Ukraine, the Russian government, Putin, all these people, they are human beings that have just gotten out of control. And systems and individuals have allowed them to get out of control. And when you buy into the propaganda and you buy into the BS of, country leaders, you've got to tread very, very carefully when somebody's ego takes over and takes control. Even right here in the Cayman Islands, one of the biggest threats we face politically is this overinflated ego. People who think that the law doesn't apply to them, that they can do whatever they want. They've already forgotten who voted them in. And so this is the beginnings of how you create somebody like a Vladimir Putin. I'm just saying. You've got to see the signs, and you've got to be prepared, folks, to pay attention and to do something about it, to have the necessary democratic checks and balances in place to not allow people to get out of control. And when they do, you can deal with them, and you've got a strong policing and legal system that doesn't allow anyone to be above the law. We see, for example, our own Makiva Bush in court again, charged with common assault and indecent assault. And there's some of you who are still trying to defend this man. I'm so shocked. Talking about how, again, going back to our rape and sexual assault culture. Oh, Mr. Bush has done so much good for this country. Listen to me. I'm not arguing or debating that. But what has that got to do with what he is alleged to have done to another woman in this community yet again? And his reputation is so atrocious when it comes to how he treats women. Right? So he could have been Jesus walking the earth and done all the good in the world. Are you telling me, because that has to be the only reason why you're bringing it up, that somehow his good cancels out when he does something bad? The good that he has done, which is part of his job, by the way, that he was being paid for handsomely as a representative of the people for 40 years? That somehow negates him touching people, violating people. I don't understand it. The two are not connected in any way, shape, or form. You could be the most wonderful person and still be a freaking rapist. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, that doesn't make you a wonderful person. But I'm just saying, you have to understand, I think sometimes it's difficult for people to reconcile in their heads. How does someone who goes to church, sings in the church choir, right? Praises the Lord, up in the LA trying to put down gay and lesbian people. How is he living this lifestyle, really, that we've all heard enough stories about to go, wow, right? Making young boys uncomfortable with offers. You know what I'm saying? We know the stories out in the streets, folks, and you can choose to believe them or not, but let me tell you something. I believe him. He's given me no reason not to believe him. Yeah, it's true. Y'all sit there pretending like you don't know what's going on in these streets. And so I must then give him a pass because, you know, he's helped people financially over the years. Yeah, that's great. But how many people do you think you might have destroyed psychologically and otherwise by indecently assaulting them or sexually assaulting them? At some point, you have just got to be able to hold people accountable for their behavior. So I did see some of y'all in the comment section trying to defend this man. I'm just like, wow. At this point in time, oh, you know, don't be hard on him. Really? What is it going to take exactly? Is he going to have to sexually assault you personally for you to finally say, okay, enough is enough? I mean, it's atrocious. And I think that when we talk about holding people accountable in this community, that accountability includes, especially for MPs, their behavior. It's a personal thing, yes, but actually he was at a government function. But still, his behavior is disgusting. And he's supposed to be representing us, the people of the Cayman Islands. Now, let me address Mr. Roy McTaggart. My apologies, because I definitely don't want to call up Roy Bodden even this hot mess. Okay, so y'all saw the video that Mr. McTaggart, it was actually an audio note that he put out there about, oh, you know, the premier, he should have done something about McKeeva. Why did he form a government with McKeeva? Blah, blah, blah. And I kind of found it interesting for a couple of reasons. Number one, it was nothing new. He'd kind of said it all before when this first thing sort of kicked off. And not only that, but so he's getting a bit repetitive now. But I think that we have to be realistic about what has actually transpired here, right? So let me see if I can play y'all some of the voice note. Because honestly, to me, it's so interesting that this is the narrative that the progressive wants to go with. And this is when you know it's complete political posturing and there's really nothing else to this, okay? Because the narrative is the PAC government formed a government with him. And, you know, once he was accused of this situation, they weren't prepared to do anything. Well, that's not entirely the case. In fact, they have done more than the current government has ever done. And I think that that is an interesting indictment on them, especially when they want to put a voice note narrative out there that says they've done so much. So it is now my responsibility to remind you of exactly what that government has done. Bear with me, because this is going to take a few minutes. This would be the same government, because I think y'all have a lapse in memory, right? That was in bed with Mr. Bush when the casino incident happened. Do y'all remember that? So y'all forget. And this is what I find so interesting about McKeeva Bush. He's like been the Teflon Don for a really, really long time. Remember the Seminole Casino? Let me get the date for y'all, because I know y'all forgetful. Remember the Seminole Casino incident? When was that? That was, we were actually broke that story. Oh God, July of 2017. Yes, honey child. That was one of our first stories that we broke on CMR. Because remember, we got started June, the end of June, 2 weeks in, we got this snippet about McKeeva Bush. Now, y'all know he was pissed off. Y'all publishing stories about me, this and that. And I said, well, sir, is it true or is it not true? That's the only question I got to ask. All right. Where was Mr. Bush politically at that point? In bed with the PPM. What did they do about it? Nothing. Zero. Nada. Zilch. I'm just saying. Let history be accurate when it comes to our politicians wanting to say certain things. Don't let them read. They're like the Russians, some of them. They're going to rewrite the history books about what happened and what they did and what they didn't do. But thank God, really and truly, for, modern technology. We can go back and we can listen to the voice notes from even the former premier of this country, Alden McLaughlin, where he said, well, I can't really do anything about Mr. Bush without tearing my government apart. So when he says that, and then I hear this, hold on a second now.
My fellow Caymanians and residents, we agree with Premier Panton that the arrest of Member of Parliament Makiva Bush on charges of indecent assault is a most serious and concerning matter. We agree also that we can rely on our courts and system of justice to resolve the matter. Where we disagree with Premier Panton is in his reference to Mr. Bush as an independent member of Parliament. The facts are that not only is Mr. Bush a member of the PACT government, but Mr. Bush was instrumental in the formation of the PACT government, for which he was rewarded by the Premier with the speakership. It was Mr. Bush's assault on a female in 2019 and his insistence to remain as Speaker following his conviction and sentencing for that offence in December 2020 that led former Premier Sir Alden McLaughlin to call for early elections in 2021. It was precisely because of our concerns regarding Mr. Bush's conviction that we refused to campaign with or form a government with him following those elections.
Now, stick a pin there, folks, because if you were naive enough to believe what Mr. Roy McTaggart is now saying, that means that you would have forgotten the fact that this was not a situation where they called an early election because that was their way of handling it. No. The facts, folks, which we can verify, is that the leader of the opposition at the time, former MP for East End, Mr. Arden McLean, was prepared to call a vote of no confidence. That is where we were headed. And that's why. Go back and listen to it. I'll pull up the voice notes now, We got him, honey chill. Go back and listen. Alden said he can't chance a vote of no confidence, that he was going to just call an early election. Now, they did so to their own detriment. That's on them. But this is what happened. Don't allow them to rewrite history. Might I also remind you that the true position, right, is that the progressive government had 1,000, count it, put it on your little calendar, 1,460 days. Two separate, very public scandals that the police got involved with Mr. Bush, aka arrested him. 4 convictions later, and they did nothing. So when they say to you that the progressive government hasn't done enough, or the progressive government hasn't done anything, my apologies, the PAC government, I want you to question that, because guess what? The PAC government got him to resign and to step down as Speaker of the House. Now, if you think that that was an easy feat, you don't know the same said Mr. Makiva Bush. If this man had any decency, he would resign from politics completely. But those of us who understand narcissists know that that is simply not going to happen. It's unfortunate, because the legacy he will leave behind will be one that is beyond tainted. He should step down. He claimed he's not running again. He should have stepped down a long time ago from the world of politics. You can't live this duplicitous life in this day and age, right? Where you're out there in the streets doing the most and think you can get away with it, and then put on a nice suit and people are going to respect you as an MP, Speaker of the House, or a minister in this country. It just doesn't happen anymore. That's so 1990s and 1980s, right? We're in the time of hashtag Me Too. People have had enough of your foolishness. It is beyond egregious that people are trying to play a political football with this situation, because believe me, I think the truth is very, very clear. The progressives did nothing. Y'all remember this? He was arrested by Seminole police back in 2017, charged with simple battery, misdemeanor battery. And this was after a female employee, a victim, says that this man is grabbing her behind, wrapped his arm around the victim's lower back, and forcefully pulled the victim towards his direction. According to the arresting officer, the victim alleged he grabbed her buttocks while pulling her with his right arm. Well, you know, they say sometimes money talks, so things have a way of disappearing. But if y'all think that that incident didn't happen and that the CCTV footage that they had, by the way, review of surveillance footage, wasn't spot on, y'all better think again. Good morning, caller.
Morning.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the PAC government isn't really interested in addressing this issue properly either. I see where the Premier had made mention about the emphasizing the necessity of the sexual harassment bill. And that's fine. That should be done. But that's not really addressing the issue. The issue needs to be addressed by amending the Constitution, because that's where you qualify to be a member of the House. That the qualifications doesn't exist in the statute. So it's not really addressing it. And the other issue that I find interesting is that nowadays they seem to be thinking of biological men who have some sort of fictitious electron activity in their brain that tells them they're a woman.
Just a second, Danny. We do have guests in the studio, but just a second before I get to them, let me understand what it is that you just said. You're saying that there needs to be a constitutional change on who is eligible to run as an MP that would have prevented this?
You see, I can't remember the particular section at the moment, but if you are, let's say, okay, he went to court, he was convicted,
mm-hmm.
and he got a suspended sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If the constitutional provision had been different, to say that because what it says right now is if you were convicted and spent less than 12 months in prison, you still qualify to be a member of the House.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's it's the conviction point that you're saying could be changed. No, I thought you said, when you said qualifying, I thought you meant in the first instance. But I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. So in the first instance, what you qualify is what you would have to continue to qualify
mm-hmm.
for to remain in the House in the event of some instance like what we're talking about now.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that's where it really needs to be addressed. The other issue that I have is that there are people who, they support this idea of trans, which I think is insane. That I find that disrespectful.
Say that again. They accept the position of
transgender.
Okay.
Transgender.
Okay.
I find that insulting to women. And I find it amazing that women sit down and let men pretend like they can be women. They can't.
Well, to be quite frank, Denny, if they want the hassle of being a woman, I'm saying go right ahead. If you think being a woman is so great,
except that those thoughts only exist in their crazy minds. It doesn't exist in reality. You cannot be a woman if you're a man. It's not possible, and I find it insulting to the institution of a woman. Right? A woman has a very specific role in the world, and it cannot be replaced by people who think crazy thoughts. Okay? It's a very important role, and I think it degrades women to just sit back and let men talk such nonsense.
Well, I think, Denny, what degrades women, let me be very frank with you, more than anything else is what we have to endure when it comes to sexual assault, which is the first government really that's finally moving forward a bill to try to deal with that. So it's the constant sexual assault in the workplace, in our churches, in our communities. It's being raped by men in this country and having other men in this country remain silent and say nothing and don't stand up. It's being sexually assaulted, physically assaulted. And the good so-called men who are not transgender men who want to say that they're macho and this and that, who sit back and don't speak out and do nothing. That insults me more than any man who wants to put on a skirt.
Well, okay, I don't have an issue with what you just said, but look now, the men who think they're women are now intruding on women's events, like say sports, for example, and affecting women's careers. Okay, so now women are losing out to men who think they're women. That's insane.
Child, we've been losing out. We've been losing out to men who've been men for many, many years.
Just because you have been losing out doesn't mean that you need to invent some other way to perpetuate it. That's nonsense.
I'm confused by this conversation, to be quite frank and honest.
Why?
Is the issue of people being transgender in this community one that is so encompassing that this is a national topic?
Okay.
Do you know any transgender people?
Let me
ask you a question. Do you know any transgender people?
Let me give you an example.
No. Answer the question first. Do you know any transgender people in Cayman?
I know one who thinks of himself as a woman.
One person in a population of what, 75,000 people?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean there isn't more. I'm just saying I know personally one. But that's not the point of what I'm saying. The point of what I'm saying is that you have women who spend years of their lives preparing to have a career in sports, who make a living from sports, who have that taken away from them by men who think they're women, by participating in events and beating them because they're simply stronger than them.
Right. And you know what most women are concerned about? The fact that we work hard, we do things like go to law school, go to medical school, go to dental school, business school, get these degrees. And when we get in the workplace, we're making far less than men who tend to be sometimes even less educated than us, have less management and people skills than us. And they still make more money just because they're wearing pants and they're considered a man with a, you know what? That is where most women will tell you that the issues are. We're not getting equal pay for equal work. There's no equality in this world when it comes to men and women. Even in the world of politics, which is what we were just talking about, the majority of this population is a female population, and yet we have men who are running this country, and a lot of them have no clue what the concerns of the women are. Everything from maternity leave to, just support for families in general. We're missing out on so many things specific to women.
I agree with you on all those issues.
Well, those things to me are much more important than wondering and focusing on a transgender person who might come on the swim team and compete for a medal.
Who might come on the swim team? I'm talking about situations where women are actually losing out on the international stage. I'm not talking about something that I think might happen. This has already happened.
Well, I'm telling you, we've been missing out on the international stage in the workplace forever.
I understand that. I agree.
But why aren't we talking about that? Because that's a much more important topic. All right, caller, let me ask you a question. You don't
want me to make this particular point.
But you've made your point. I think we're all crystal clear on what your point is.
Okay. Yes, but you're trying to belittle.
I don't have to agree with your point.
I'm talking about the attitude of people who think that being a woman is I just think it up in my mind, and now I can displace women because I think I'm a woman.
Okay.
That is disrespectful to women.
I think we've heard your point, Denny. We don't have to agree with your point, and we don't have to like your point, but you have made it. You made your point crystal clear. Now, I want to ask you about the point that we were actually discussing here on the program. What is your position on someone like a Mr. Bush who is happy to toot your, pro-Christian values? He goes to church, he sings in the church choir, he does and says all the right things on the face of it. But this is the same man who allegedly is out there picking up men, offering them cash for exchange for favors, who can't keep his hands to himself, grabbing women on the breast, grabbing women's buttocks for years and years and years, right? Boxing women down when they finally stand up to him, dragging them by their hair. What is your position on that? And anyone in our community who does those things?
I agree with you, but I just addressed that a few minutes ago by telling you that the way that you keep people like that out of the house is by amending the Constitution.
But then that's addressing it after the fact. What I'm saying is we need a cultural shift of our mindset.
Sandra, I understand that. But the way that you switch the culture is by changing the rules so that going forward, this can't happen.
No, I think the way that you change the culture is when we're having a discussion on public radio, you talk about and agitate for the things that are most important and not focusing on some transgender person that's...
No, Sandra, that's nonsense. The first issue that I addressed was the constitutional one, which your premier failed to acknowledge. In his letter, he didn't even address it.
Which letter are you referring to?
Sorry, not letter, a press release, in which he made a comment about the premier, about Makiva's situation and how he has confidence in the court in addressing it. He said nothing about, what we're going to do is we're going to change the rules about being a member of the House so that this type of activity would not be possible in the future. He didn't address it.
Well, let's look at what he has done, right? Including for the first time ever, bringing a code of conduct to the fore and getting all of his government
to be in legislation. The code of conduct is voluntary.
Well, sir, it's a first step. You yourself understand that Rome wasn't built in a day, especially when you have this very pro-male culture that we live in.
They have the majority. They can bring a bill if they want to.
Well, they've given...
That's an excuse.
No. I don't think it's an excuse. I don't know when that's going to happen. But we also have to remember...
When the majority gets the will to do it is when it'll happen.
Well, the same people who have been holding it up for the past 8-9 months has been the progressive government, who then issued this duplicitous message about, why hasn't the PAC government done anything about Mr. Bush? Had they had the power to do so by way of a codified code of conduct, it would have been a done deal. But yet Mr. Roy McTaggart, Mr. Alden McLaughlin, Barbara Bush as the only female member of the PPM government, who else do they have? David White and Joey Hugh. None of them have even responded to the PAC's government's request to review the code of conduct, provide your feedback, and jump on board with it. So this is the duplicity that I'm talking about.
And shame on them.
Shame on them, but we have to remind the people. But just because somebody sends out a voice note saying yada, 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 that doesn't mean, number one, that it's the true position. And number two...
I agree with what you said about the PPM in relation to this. They're being duplicitous. They should have addressed it differently.
Oh,
in
shoot.
The beginning. They did not.
Somebody said I said Barbara Bush. My apologies to Barbara Bush. Her name is Barbara Connolly. My apologies, Barbara Bush.
But the fact of the matter is that while the PPM should have addressed it, they didn't.
Yes.
The fact of the matter is now is that the PAC government is the current government who can bring a bill right now if they want to.
Okay. And we also understand that there was a lot that unfortunately the previous government didn't do. And after our guests are waiting, so I'm going to get to them. But even as we talk about this whole bus situation yesterday, that's one of those legacy issues that overflowed from the previous administration. They didn't do something. Now this government is trying to do something, and it causes all kind of upheaval. Now I'm not going to give, and this really isn't so much the government as it is the civil servants. I'm not going to give them the Public Transport Board, the Public Transport Unit, about how they went about it. Because I think how they did it, not what they did, was the issue why these bus drivers are protesting yesterday. Leave me there with those comments.
Well, just let me say one last thing. That is I agreed what you just said. That is why it's important to change the Constitution so that going forward, you avoid problems. That's my point.
Okay. Now, I hope you do remember, did you vote for this Constitution, by the way? Did you vote in support of it?
Actually, I made a big fuss about that because what I said was that the Constitution was not where it ought to have been at the time.
Right. And you will also admit or not, you can tell me if you agree, that this is how lawyers put questions to you in court. Do you agree that the Constitution is not a document you can change every other week? It's a living document, but it takes, when you want to make changes, you need to try to make changes. You know, you can't go and change one minuscule thing and then two months later go back and change something else. And that's not normally how constitutional documents work.
It shouldn't be that way, but the government has the ability to do it if they want.
All right. Leave me there for now. All right, folks. That's Denny Warren Jr. Some very interesting and lively comments from him. Some people might be in agreement, but a lot of you are like, pump the brakes. Marshall says men thinking that they're women and being a woman is two different things. Al says live and let live. I wish women had more power. Jim says, Denny, open your mind. Jonathan says, I wonder who's going to be the first transgender Miss Cayman. Alejandro says, OMG, women accept homosexuality more than men. Let's keep this conversation straight because it's insulting for us men that people of confusion in their own gender will also have confusion in important decisions. What? Alejandro, why do you think that people are confused about their gender just because they say that they're not what they were born as? I mean, they aren't confused. They're telling you that, you know, there's something. Listen, I agree with Al, live and let live. I don't really care if somebody is transgender, bisexual, homosexual, whatever. Here's what I care about when it comes to sexuality. Yes? Because some of y'all are freaks between the sheets 24/7. And we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to judge that behavior. And y'all up in church, same way, standing right next to Mr. Bush, singing in the church choir. My thing is this. If you're an adult, you can do whatever you want in the comfort of your own home, in the confines of your house. Once it does not involve children, I honestly don't care. Once it does not involve someone who is non-consenting, I honestly do not care. And animals. I might as well throw them in there. Don't involve the animals either. Other than that, do whatever the hell you want. That's your free choice. Good morning, Tamara. Tamara says, where would this country be without you, Miss Sandy? Love you or disagree. You seem to be the only person capable of enlightening and holding everyone accountable for their wrongdoings. You are fearless. Some people call me crazy, but that's okay. I'll take both. Corruption driven by power and greed in Cayman is sadly predictable. Self-serving, the tomorrow average Caymanian is being royally screwed by the past and present power players, and that's not limited to government. Now that's a mouthful, Tamara. Ooh, honey child. Listen, our guests have taken time out of their busy schedules. Miss Heather, I want you to pull your camera down just a little bit for me so we can see your lovely face. There you go. A little bit more, a little bit more. Looking good. Yes, honey child. Now we got it. Wonderful. So we have the Beautification Committee. Oh, I printed off their little stuff that they sent me. So let's have a look here. We have got the beautiful Miss Heather Bodden, who is Parliamentary Secretary, and Miss Teresa Lewis-Pitcairn. She's joining us as the chairperson for the Beautification Task Force. So we're going to find out what the task force is and what they've been up to. Good morning to Miss Teresa.
Hi, good morning, Sandra. Can you hear?
Oh, yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you so much. And we've got MP. Yeah, good morning, Ms. Heather Bodden.
Hi. And we didn't plan to wear blue. We just
that was
good
a plan.
Morning, everybody.
And I've been told to get the titles correct.
I just noticed that. So
Heather Bodden is actually acting minister this morning as well. So she's wearing multiple hats. Which ministry? Remind me of which ministry you're actually acting for. acting
Tourism and
minister.
Transport.
Oh yes, because Mr. The Honorable Kenneth Bryan is off
Minister
island.
Kenneth is in Barbados.
Is in Barbados. Okay.
Yes.
All right, not a problem. Well, thank you, ladies, for joining us today. So let's we hear about the Beautification Task Force, and I suppose a lot of our listeners might not even know what that is and what you guys do. So perhaps we start off by talking a little bit about what the Beautification Task Force is. We do have a mission statement here that has been supplied to us by the Cayman Islands Beautification Task Force. What do you guys do exactly?
So first of all, let me just say thank you very much for having us, Sandra. And as one of your listeners expressed, that it's really a pleasure to listen to you. I know people have different views about what your show represents, but for me, irrespective of what others say, you invite us to have accountability and conversation, even when the topics are sensitive. The other thing that I'd say is that because we didn't start on time, open was for 8 o'clock, I have to leave at 9 because I have another call that's scheduled for 8 o'clock. Yeah. But Heather, if you don't mind, because this has been your baby for such a long time, if you would just take us through quickly about the history and so on.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning to all that are listening. We're happy to have this opportunity. And the history dates back to my dad. And what he did was he instilled in all of his children and cleanliness. And he was one of those people that loved to keep his country clean. So I can only tell you all that whatever he did, it has been instilled in his children, and now today that legacy continues. So once I got elected in 1995 to 2000, I started a beautification project back in those days. I never gave up. I'm back now in politics, and it continues. There's been a bit of time where we've just been spinning tires, but I think we're beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel now. Get things done in a more fashionable way where we can say that, okay, we can see that whatever we set out to do is beginning to happen. But I am not giving up until I see all the laws that are there enforced, and we have a beautiful, clean island that people come here just to see what the beauty that are bringing the tourists here. We live and work here, so we all have to chip in and do our part. So it is something that I'm passionate about, and I just want to make people know they got to be part of the solution and not part of the pollution.
Very good. I know that we've got Earth Day coming up, I believe in April, where a lot of people will be out, cleaning up. But we need to do more than a cleanup, once a quarter, once a year. It's so much more than that. So, of course, as Denny rightfully pointed out earlier, let's first talk about the legislative framework that is in place to support your efforts and what it is that you do. So there is the litter law. Section 8 of the litter law actually makes it an offense for people to litter, but a $500 fine, a lot of people in the community, Ms. Heather, have simply said that that's not enough. Is the PAT government committed to increasing that fine in any meaningful way?
So I'll touch on that if you don't mind, Heather.
Yes.
Yeah. So the
Not at all. You go ahead.
The task that was assigned to the task force was a monumental one, Sandra. And minister was trying to address things like the types and causes of litter. So, for example, we have derelict vehicles, we have trucks carrying trash without proper covering, we have property owners with litter around their homes, not properly stored and having it there for years. You have pedestrians throwing garbage out of their cars as they drive. You have illegal dumping, because we see this continuing right throughout, especially with respect to construction and landscape. So these were just some example. I mean, even issues as simple as proper garbage receptacles by people who live in apartments or business places and so on. To wrap our minds around that and put it in the context of having an economy that is based primarily not only on the private sector, but as tourism as well, and having an environment that is not reflecting of what actually our culture represents by seeing a cleanly environment. With this, I touch on what Heather just said. You mentioned that whether or not we have a legislation that touches on the structure of the task force, we don't. So what we had was a group of people appointed by the minister, and we were invited to consider all of these different issues, which, as I said at the top of the hour, was a monumental one. When we realized the scope of what we were trying to achieve as representative in the mission statement, we said that, we had to really organize how we're going to attack that. So we ended up splitting the task force in giving people different responsibilities. So we had a legal arm, we had an environmental arm, we had an educational arm, and we had a media arm. We also had a separate arm where we want to engage the public to ensure that what the minister is trying to do is in alignment with what the members of the private sector is trying to do. I know that Heather has a great relationship with a number of senior people in the private sector with respect to tourism. So we engage them and are in continual conversation with them, because one of the things that come to mind is when you look at the hotel industry, you will see they have these small little bottles, for example, for shampoo, conditioner, and so on. How are we going to manage something like that when you consider the number of persons who visit our homes and we don't have any type of proper reorganization where we actually address garbage and so on? So going on the water and just collecting all of the garbage, that's just one thing, but where are we going to store it? How are we going to manage it? So we were required then to put all of this into consideration. Each subcommittee then went their separate ways and prepared a paper, and we would have regular meetings. The other thing that comes out of this was the idea of having volunteers represent the interests that the minister is trying to address. The task was so huge that what this meant was that we had to rely on civil servants who have their own jobs to do. So what has happened is that Marjorie, for example, Marjorie and Mona Lisa will receive emails from me like 4 or 5 in the morning. Throughout the day, they will send me separate commentary. And then at nights when I'm home, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, we're trying to collate information. When we have public holidays, members of the legal team will meet at their private homes to sit down and figure out how we're going to address all of these things. Because as you rightly touched on at the very top of the meeting, we have legislation like the Public Health Law, Litter Law, Public Lands Act, Public Lands Regulation, or Penal Code, the Traffic Law, Town and Country Law, and immigration. So you see, there's a whole bunch of legislation that is not in alignment. But again, no surprise, because this is so atypical of the Cayman Islands. We elect people in every 4-year cycle, and we don't see a collaboration for a long-term plan for the country and for you, because politicians, it seems to me, are primarily concerned about being elected every 4 years. And to the point that you raised, and I'm not going to get into this because it really only touches on this point I'm trying to raise about coherence and alignment with some type of fierce policy that represents the best interest of this island. We listened to the tape with the Honorable Mr. MacTaggart, and as you rightly pointed out, it is no different really from the same criticisms that he is leveling at the existing government. And for me, I don't care which government it is, because you know me well enough to be transparent, to the point, and I hold people accountable as you do. You don't get a lot of kudos for being honest and holding people with integrity in this community. And it is reflective in the policies that we have. enforcing those policies. We wrote to the Attorney General, for example, after the minister brought the papers that we developed on all of the areas, like I said, education, alignment, because there were so many ideas that were in that and so much time that was spent putting that together, Sandra. And it finally ended up to cabinet, and folks have not even given us the courtesy of a response. About a week ago, I followed up with one of the members of the minister's team to go back to the AG's department to find out and how are we going to address, to just, because what we have done with our spare time is at the very least identify the legislation that impacts these issues that we're trying to address. Nobody don't care, Sandra. You know, and even, like I said, as a bare courtesy to those of us given our time for free. This now touches on the point that I want to raise as well. It's one thing to have people, like-minded, civic-minded people like all of us who get on these committees and do the works from their time and, you know, and do whatever, and paid. And I'm not asking to be paid, right? I'm just pointing this out because so many members of the team are saying that, you know, because when we started the meetings, I essentially said, look, if you're here to warm the chairs, this isn't a committee for you because I'm going to hold you accountable. So, and it's not as if people don't care, but people are in traffic for how long in the morning? So they're actually encumbered by having to get into town because, you know, they have no other alternative. And if they want to give up their time, they got to give up that time freely, when that time could be better spent educating their own children in their own time. So you see these competing issues that we have, where on the one hand, where you want to contribute. And remember too, Cayman is in the same place it was some 20, 30 years ago, when it was easy to give up your time freely because you didn't have the competing distractions. Cayman is a different place today. So yeah, and when people say to me, well, T, I want to help and so on and so forth, but how can you pay people, for example, that are on the SEMA board thousands of dollars and not be committed to paying people, you know, that are on these types of committees and others? So addressing these things are really important. But to do that, Sandra, we need to have a coherent, responsible government that actually respect the people. But to get them to respect us, it's not waiting every 4 years to kick them out or reappoint them or re-elect them. It's to holding their feet to the fire.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to absorb so much. Looking at the clock, and I know I have a 9 o'clock.
Yes.
I just want to interrupt here. It's not that the government don't care. There's just so much for us to do in the community on a whole. And that is a task that I'm behind and will continue to push until we see change. And
well, I think that people have expectations. Yeah, I think that what's happening is that people have expectations that the government has the capacity, both the civil service and the elected officials, to focus on more than one thing at a time and to actually get and deliver on more than one campaign promise at the same time as well. But
Sandra and Heather, that's what you're paid to do.
Yeah, it is a job.
And this is not a personal thing because you know me, it's not personal. If collectively with things as they stand, you don't have the capacity to do what is required. And bearing in mind, we have a nice next heck of funding in our you know, we have sufficient funding that can actually absorb the cost of some of these things. All I'm saying, and representative of the interest of the community, is that you guys got to get it together. You guys have to. It's not enough to say that we're busy and we don't have time and so on. It has to be a more coherent approach, a more cerebral approach to getting things done, and stop giving people excuses. And I'm not, again, let me say this and underscore, this isn't about you, Heather, because I know how hard you work. I know how hard the minister works. I know how work, but all I'm saying is that we have to think carefully, long and hard. This excuse, because that's what it is, that we haven't done this or we can't do this because of so on. That is so old. We have a new generation of people with expectation because we know you can deliver it. If you can't, find people who can and pay for it. I gotta love you. I gotta leave you guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Yep. Thank you so much to the chairperson again of the Beautification Task Force Committee, Miss Teresa Lewis-Pritkrin. Of course, you guys know that she's involved in the community at so many different levels. What a mouthful from her as well. And Miss Heather, you know, I agree with Teresa, of course, when I say that, you know, the people want things delivered. We're a bit tired of the talk, and I know from the background that, you know, you've got things legislatively that have to take place.
Sandra, I'm not hearing you. You're breaking up.
Yeah, I think we have a little bit of a touchy connection.
I'm missing every couple of words. I'm missing every few words.
Yeah, I'm having that issue with you as well, Miss Heather. I'm not really sure. I think it might be your internet. We'll have to talk about what kind of internet speeds you've got there at the office. But no, I do think that there is a little bit of a connection there.
Internet.
Yeah, I
bad
think
connection. Yes.
Yeah,
it's a bad connection on internet. Yes.
Miss Heather.
And maybe what I can do is
can I get you to call in on the phone, because I think we want to hear you.
I lost you completely.
Okay, I'm gonna message you.
I've lost you completely.
Okay, let me just pull her out, because I do know she's having some. I was hearing the choppiness earlier in the conversation as well. So I'm gonna call her on WhatsApp, because we want to hear, obviously, Ms. Heather, and we've got questions and stuff for her. So let me just call her in the WhatsApp, and I think it'll be a clearer connection. We would have liked to have seen her, but you know, we work with what we can.
Okay, good morning.
Yeah, your internet seems a little bit choppy this morning. Let me see if this is any better. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, all right. So let's do the phone call then. And hopefully people can actually hear a lot better, because it was kind of chipping out in and out of my end as well. So no, Ms. Heather, I was just saying that I was agreeing with Teresa. I know there's a lot of work to be done, but at some point the people in the community get tired of hearing about what's going to be done, and they actually want things to be done. So your beautification committee, there's a list here of actions that you have completed in 2023, 2022, my apologies. What are we looking at on the agenda now for 2023?
Okay, let me just go back here to 2022 with the actions that were done. We arranged with the primary stakeholders, the task force, and they will work closely, and they're working closely with the DEH and RCIPS. Compile a comprehensive listing of the relevant laws and regulations applicable to littering, including a summary of the areas they cover and penalties which apply for the types of offenses. Develop a strong marketing public education campaign, working collaboration with Minister of Tourism, Cayman's government internal communications team. Develop an overarching strategy to eradicate litter of all kinds, not limited to derelict vehicles, and develop and support community events, Earth Day, district cleanups, install anti-litter signage, etc. And now for the planned activities for this year, for the 2023 year, we plan to take zero tolerance to litter, that we can do this through our planned activities, which include district cleanups per subcommittee plans, beautifying a park or roundabout with floral plants and artwork, school visits, painting as a group, 50-gallon drums on the beaches, which include the schools, Earth Day cleanup, tree planting, cleaning up and painting elders' homes and districts, reporting abandoned derelict vehicles. That's our biggest problem in the country right now, Sandra.
I mean, reporting it is one thing, but we need to find a much faster way of between a collaboration between DEH and the RCIPS of actually removing the derelict vehicles. Now, trust me, I am well aware of the complexities even of that singular issue, because of the fact that there are gaps in the legislation over at DVDL that allows people to transfer or not transfer vehicles, I should properly say, that have been purchased, right? So you go out there and purchase a vehicle and you never affect the transfer. And so when a derelict vehicle is found, nobody knows who the derelict vehicle even belongs to, so that they can be properly notified. So these gaps exist in the legislation, but I think what might have to happen, Ms. Heather, is we might have to just take a no-nonsense approach, that if you have abandoned a vehicle, regardless of who the owner is, if it's found in a derelict state and it's been abandoned, the government simply destroys it. End of story. Right? And there's no further, oh, let's take 2 years to try to identify who the lawful owner of this vehicle is. So that people will know that the position really is that if you leave a vehicle on a roadway, on a government roadway, it's not on private property, and it's an eyesore to other people, you risk the chance of that being confiscated, smushed up into a nice little pile, and put on the what do we call it now? The scrap metal. Yes, the boat that is going to take it off this island.
That is actually happening as fast as they can. DEH is working very closely with us, and I must take my hat off and I must give kudos to Mr. Richard Sims. How he has been amazing. I mean, we have just been on him day and night as far as getting these vehicles collected once they're tagged. And I sometimes notice that once they're tagged and then they stay there for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, once you remove them, then the owner steps forward and wants to know what happened to his vehicle. We're going to start to take a no-nonsense approach on this, because it is just causing too much. It's unsightly, very unsightly to our country right now. And this is why people love to come to our island, because they see a clean, beautiful island, and this is what we're familiar with. And as long as I'm in charge, as long as I'm involved, I can tell you that I'm going to push forward on this. And I'm going to probably upset some people with moving their vehicles because they've been, parked for a long time. But so be it. If they're not responsible enough to remove it themselves, then I will be moving it myself, or informing somebody to have it moved. So we're going to have to take it that route, because you clean it up today, or you pick it up today, and by tomorrow they're all over the place again. I just don't know where they're coming from. But people need to understand they need to be more responsible, and it's making our country ugly, and it's really, really.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's an uphill battle, without a doubt, and for sure, there's only so much I think that anybody can do, whether it's the DEH, the police, and so on. It's really members of the community, as Cameron just said, nasty people. It's members of the community who need to stop being so nasty and need to treat our environment.
Everybody needs to get involved. I mean, it's not just the government. Everybody who lives here needs to be involved. They need to take their own responsibilities. I mean, if you're gonna put your trash bins out and then leave it there for 2 or 3 days before the garbage truck comes to pick it up, and then for those 2 or 3 days it's sitting there, all you see is chickens and dogs and cats picking it out, and you ignore it. That's bringing our country down, and you're just ignoring it and not showing any civic pride. Yes. So these are the things we have to instill into people's minds, that they have to take the responsibility themselves as well. They can't just leave it upon the government to do everything. If you own a house and you have a garbage can, then you are responsible for that litter that you put in there. Keep the covers on. If the chickens and the dogs dig it out, pick it up and put it back. People have to understand that it's there where they're living. It's their home. It devalues properties when they do those sort of things too. Yes, so people need to come on board. If they want to see a clean and tidy country, jump on board with us. If they see something, call and report it.
Yeah, and I think that perhaps the other thing that we could really touch upon, to be quite honest, is the fact that maybe we should start teaching these things in our schools to our young people. We do have a caller who's on the line, so let's just grab a call here this morning. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandra. What Miss Heather is saying, she's on point. But what about those side garages that are just taking their scrap cars and just leaving it there on the side of the road or leaving them at their compound? This is a problem, right? We have all
Yes.
these. I'm not trying to take business from the water. Majority of these little side garages, do they even have a valid license to be working out by their homes, in front of their homes and stuff? Before
Many
these kind of things
don't.
had to be on industrial areas.
Many of them don't, and that's popping up in residential areas right now. And we have a lot of issues with those in residential. They just don't care. What they're doing is devaluing the next person's property. There's people with picking up their cars that have been in accidents, taking them to the yards and then stripping them. And it's devaluing people's property. It's devaluing communities. It's devaluing neighborhoods. And it has to stop. They need to understand that there is a difference between commercial and residential. If you're living in a residential area, don't bring your vehicles there to scrap.
Yeah.
Take it to a compound
And
where
it's
they can
not
do it.
just a
But
matter
they're
of
doing it and getting away with it. They're doing it and
Yes.
getting away with it, which is annoying a lot of people, including me.
And MP Heather, it's also not just a matter of devaluing property, but it's creating a health hazard as well. Because as we can see with that situation in Prospect, where we had the explosion the other day, that's because of the improper storage of material that is very, very dangerous to people. And, that is a prime example of tons of complaints that had been received over the years, and nothing was ever done about it.
Yeah, because down in Mount Pleasant, at one point in time, the Mount Pleasant area, the Shores area and stuff, we used to see that all of a sudden now you got this son that come and he's a mechanic and all these junk cars are in there. It is devaluing your homes. But then who are you going to complain to? Because if you go to the neighbor and say, can you please do this because there's covenant in this area, it's not allowed. Oh, mind your own business. This is my yard, this is my property, you know? So, I mean, I hope they get it sorted because it really has to be sorted. And believe me, I'll be the first one to jump on board.
Thank
Anyway,
you.
you guys have a
Yep,
good day.
I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
And
So
here, Cayman and Sister Islands, they're reporting derelict vehicles and abandoned homes and broken fences. And those are being sent to DEH and dumping and the other authorities. So yes, we are cognizant of everything that's happening. Trust me, we have committee members who are driving these streets. They're driving the back roads. They're taking a no nonsense approach as far as when they see a derelict vehicle where there's rats and all sorts of critters running out. That people need to understand is dangerous because sitting there for an amount of time, it attracts all sorts of rats and those things get around your house. It's very dangerous, and people need to realize that they're causing a hazard in their yards and around their homes. So we have these committee members that are out checking areas and taking the DEH officers and putting the stickers on them. Sometimes we're finding that the person who actually owns it will tear the sticker off, but if it's on there, we know, and it's been documented. So if it's torn off, you're going to still get it moved. But I can tell you, we are pushing as hard as we can. We have to get our country back to where it was. This thing where people have no pride, no, they're just very careless. It has to stop. It has to stop. We are known throughout the world as the gem of the Caribbean. Everywhere I travel, people talk to me about my beautiful island. I appreciate that. We have the most beautiful beaches. There are areas on our roads that are really beautiful, but there's other areas that you just don't want to drive through or go into. And you know what? When you have those type of areas, it attracts the bad people. And those are the things that we're trying to keep out of our country. You see people going into communities and doing all sorts of things. Well, when that happens, then all you see is crime. It increases. So those are the things that we are working behind the scenes on. Trust me, we are in contact with DEH, the police, the commissioner, even the governor. We are in contact with everybody. We will understand that we need the support of our entire island. Everybody who lives or work here needs to understand they have responsibility.
All right, we've got multiple callers trying to get through. Morning caller, your comments or question this morning?
Good morning, honey child. How are you?
Good morning. Very good. How are you?
Blessed and highly favored beyond all measures.
Wonderful.
Good morning, Miss Heather. I too want to give my input. Good luck, Heather, with the police, because in these sort of issues, the police have been saying is petty crime. And my book, petty crime turns into big crimes. Yeah, that if it have been cut in the bud, it wouldn't exist. But anyhow, you good luck with the police. My intake also that I would like to stress is that, I mean, we are not only I'm speaking to Caymanians, I'm speaking to everybody who lives on this island, who have come here for a living or made Cayman their home. We need to understand littering is against the law. As fast as we would clean up, you would go right back over that said area a week or two after that, and it's full with trash again. People are tending to fling stuff out of their vehicles on the road, which is unacceptable. And they got to understand and realize that somebody has to come behind them and clean that mess. But I think the key thing here is that no one is being charged. If charge was in place, I think people would adhere to it and don't do it. But because no one, have you ever heard of anyone getting charged for littering?
Well, that's the problem. It's not a chargeable offense. It is a fine, basically. So they just pay the fine. I mean, I think that we need to make it, and this is to my point, I mean, a $500 fine for littering is really
no. That's going to increase. That's going to be increased.
Yeah, so we need to make it more of a deterrence. And also, as you rightfully said, Mr. Amelia, people need to make sure that they're reporting it as well. Take pictures. I keep telling people, I mean, in all fairness to the police, a lot of these things can be simply dealt with, even the blue spot parking. I now take a photo with a geolocation on it so they know exactly where the photo was taken, the timestamp, everything, and send it directly to the police. I always check, look and see if I see, a handicap sticker. Funny enough, yesterday I took one. There's a particular spot that every day people park in this spot, and they're not handicapped vehicles or handicapped individuals, I should say. They don't have the proper, sticker or decal. And yesterday I took one because I saw somebody there, so I took it from the back as I usually do. But I made sure I went and I checked the front of the vehicle, and guess what? This person actually had a handicap sticker. So I said, oh, good. There's one, finally, the right person using the spot, but I don't have to send that to the RCIPS. So I think as people in the community, we certainly have to do our part. And I know, Ms. Amelia, you do your best with providing the information to the police. But I find that whenever I send them people abusing the spot, they get a hold of them, and they surely do find them.
Well, I mean, it's amazing.
Because that was one of my motions as well with the handicap. So kudos to you for that. But I just wanted to go back here to the litter law, the penalties under that. And litter law says people who dump litter in a public place commits an offense and are liable upon conviction to a fine of $500 or imprisonment for 6 months. Section 8 of the litter law states where a derelict vehicle is left in a public place in such circumstances as to cause, contribute, or tend to the defacement thereof, an officer shall give notice to the person within 24 hours of such notice to remove the derelict vehicle so as to restore the public place to a condition satisfactory to the officer. So that's what the litter law says under Section 8. So people need to understand there are laws and they have to abide by them. Otherwise, like recently we saw somebody driving down the road. Somebody had their camera on and caught somebody throwing trash out the window. I have been trying to find out if that person has been taken to court and charged. I can't even find that out. So these are the things that are happening, and people are reporting it, but it doesn't go any further. So we really have to, work together as a community and keep reporting. We got to keep reporting these things until somebody get tired and fed up with us. So, and then those derelict vehicles,
Heather, according to the public health garbage and refuse disposal regulations 20-11 revision, the removal of derelict vehicles is $75 if you go and sign up a form for DEH to remove that vehicle. That charges $75. Now, if they have to be removed, removal of a derelict vehicle per vehicle upon enforcement of the law, that is $215. So therefore, I feel there have been so many vehicles have moved due to enforcement and has not been charged at $215 for the removal. And I felt that they should have been charged the $500 littering fee as well, along with the $215. And I know there were cries about how are they going to collect. My God, we have all ways that it can be collected. You should not be able to license a vehicle. You should not be able to renew your driver's license. You should not be able to pass your car. Do nothing at license department until this fee is paid. I mean, there are so many ways of skinning a cat and say, okay, we can't find you here. When you come to license department, you get stuck there. Or when you go to planning, this is on your file, so you can't do anything unless this is done. I mean, come on. All it takes is to find a way to really action out the law, carry out the law by charging people, implementing $500 fine on people for littering. And whatever else charge you can put on them according to the law, put it on them. Make examples of some of them, and then maybe the others will adhere to it. But it's not going to change unless someone is fined or charged.
Thank you, my dear.
It's not going to stop.
I appreciate
Thank you.
it. Thanks very much.
I'm going to end it because I have my meeting coming up at 9:30. So my part of this now is going to say just to keep reporting, and let's all report. We can take action. We can sign up to for cleanups, keep our own properties clean, be part of the solution. We really need your help. We really need everybody to come on board with this. We have information here with regards to our Facebook. Okay, it's BTF, B as in baby, T as in Tommy, F as in Frank, Cayman 1@gmail.com. That's our email address that people can report these things to. You can either make contact with us through our Beautification Task Force. Hang on, where did that go?
Yeah, they've got a Facebook page as well, which is Facebook. Just look for CI Beautification Task Force on Facebook.
Yes, Cayman Islands. Just says CI Beautification Task Force. Website is www.facebook.com/CI Beautification Task Force. So there's ways and means of getting in touch with us, but we just want to send a message out today. Be a part of the solution, not the pollution. Our country is beautiful. We hear that all the time from visitors. So let's all work together and continue to make our country the country that we all want to live and work in. People come here, see it, and never want to leave. So if you're enjoying it that much, then help us to keep it clean and tidy. It is just a simple thing as doing your part. Put your litter in your garbage cans properly. If you have a derelict vehicle, take it off the road, take it out of the yard, take it to the garbage, take it to the dump where they're crushing these cars and sending them off. But we can't do this alone. There's one group that is here to do this, but everybody has to be involved. I thank you all very much. Let's all work forward to a cleaner and more beautiful Cayman Islands. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, my dear. Appreciate it. All right, Ms. Heather Bodden, acting minister at the moment of tourism and transport. We certainly appreciate the call. Thank you. Thank you. So let's take a little break, folks. I mean, we're hitting all kind of points today. So let's keep this train moving, shall we?
The department was formed in March 2021, and the creation of this department has allowed the company to centralize the reporting of environmental, social, and governance initiatives. We've published a sustainability report. I am very proud to be the manager of this department. We are setting the standard here in Cayman, in the Caribbean. We are trying our best to ensure that we are not only meeting environmental, social, and governance, but overall that we are a company that employees would want to come to work for, and that the community in general will feel proud that it is the utility company.
Crichton Properties is one of Cayman's most trusted real estate companies for over 50 years. We offer a diverse selection of property listings and help our clients navigate the world of buying or selling their properties with confidence. Crichton is a name you can trust with our excellent customer service and family-friendly touch. Contact us today to list your home, land, or condo for sale by calling 949-5250 or email info@crichtonproperties.com. Crichton Properties, a trusted Cereba member.
Recover Personal Injury Attorneys, helping injured people get what they deserve. Did you know that insurance companies have lawyers that represent their interests? Before signing and accepting any settlement, know your rights. Call us today for a free consultation at 924-9999. That's 924-9999. Recover. Your personal injury attorneys are on standby to assist.
All right, folks, we are back. Thank you so much. So we've touched on a few things today, and I do want to now move on to our next topic. I know a lady was trying to call. She said she needed to call us about something landlord related. Mr. Amelia sending pictures of disgusting garbage bins. I think honestly, the bottom line is, I don't know if you can teach people pride or not. I mean, I don't really know. There are different issues I think that's happening with the litter on this island. Number one, if people don't have pride in their surroundings and their environment, nothing will ultimately change. Let's be very, very honest here. So, y'all claim that you're Christians, but y'all must have missed that Bible verse that talked about cleanliness is next to godliness, because some of y'all are so nasty, both inside and outside of your homes. You just keep it looking like the local dump, and that's not a compliment. So, sadly, this is a concern, but legislation can't change morality. And I think you need to understand that. And you have to understand, I think legislators obviously need to understand this point as well, that there has to be a general re-educating of people as to why you want to keep your neighborhoods, your house outside of your homes, clean and free of debris and garbage spewed all over the place. Now y'all talking about you were so pro chickens, and yet the chickens are out there digging through your garbage and doing the most in terms of that. And y'all are okay with that because apparently you feel that the chickens need to be fed more importantly than actually keeping your neighborhoods and your households clean. I mean, it's shocking to me sometimes when I drive around and I see the condition that people, the outside of their homes. I can only imagine if you allow people to see that of your house. I can only imagine what the inside looks like. It can't be a pretty sight, honey child. No pride. Here are some examples. Look at this. Busting at the seams. Now, some of this is because, and this is probably in Windsor Park, but some of this is because you guys are taking your homes, turning them into tenement yards, got 1 million people living in that one little house, and those people are producing more garbage than the garbage bin was ever designed for. And, the Department of Environmental Health has continually said, please stop doing this. Our guys can't pick up garbage like this where you're putting it in individual bags. You see how they have all these small Foster's bags and stuff? The same Foster's that you going to get those Foster's bags, you can get big bags. Price Right has the big black ones. You put all the smaller bags in there before you take it out to the curb and you put it in the trash bin. How hard can that be? DEH is not going to pick this up. Look at this. The very individual, cups from the fast food places. You know how much time it takes for DEE, the collectors, to one by one pick out your garbage like this? Put it in big bags. And if you own an apartment complex or you've taken your house and you chopped it up into a million little homes, have some standards. Let your renters know that before putting stuff out on the roadside looking like this, that if they could please put it in the bigger bags, that would be appreciated. I look at this one with the green container here. Obviously, it's not big enough. I don't know how many people they got living up in that house, honey child, but look at this. DEH not picking this up. Come on now. Caller.
Hello.
Good morning. Hello. Yes. Hi.
Hello.
Yes. Hi, sir.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I was saying because I had called a couple of weeks ago, you remember, telling you that they should what the government needs to do is try to get the garbage collection pick up more often. I mean, the minister just came on there and started insulting people about keep your garbage clean and this and that. If the garbage bag is full, right, and people got it in the right way, the garbage bag is full inside your house, what you gonna do? You're gonna take it out to the trash can, right? That's the appropriate thing to do. So if you take it out to the trash can and chickens get at it, you got it cover up good near thing. Chickens get at it and tear it up. It's not a fault. I mean, we could go back and pick it up. Sure, I understand that, but that is a one-sided argument. When they should really try and get the garbage collection to go around at least twice for the week, especially up there in the Eastern District. I don't know how often they pick up in anywhere else. If they need to hire more people, hire more people. You know, don't go around and telling people that and keep on the garbage clean and keep on the garbage clean. How clean can the garbage be? You put it there, sure. You put it inside the trash pan in an ordinary fashion, and you keep it there and you hope for the best. If you see chickens in it, well, most naturally you try to run the chickens and stuff. But what they got to do is try to get the garbage pick up more often. Let the garbage truck come across more often, because half the time the garbage stays there pile up 7, 8 days, some days going into 10 days, and anything will get at it. Now on the chicken, it start to get worms and everything. I mean, that's the reality of it. We started the PPM government started this 1 week garbage pickup because of austerity measures. As far as I know, we don't know austerity measures no more, because they're claiming surpluses. This government is claiming surpluses. So let's get the garbage pick up twice a week. That cleanliness is next to godliness. I agree. But if people do their best, try to put it out by the trash can, and the chickens get at it. Sometimes dogs even get at it. You know, all of that kind of stuff. So is one thing to say one thing, but then it's the next thing. The reality is try to do your part. If government needs to try to do their part also, it's a 50-50 thing. All right. Yeah. The only thing next to do is for the government to say, well, here bought a car, the garbage at the dump. Here bought a car, the garbage at the dump, and on the dump it on itself. If you need to collect the people more, if you need to charge a fee for collecting people garbage, well, charge the fee. But we need our garbage picked up in an ordinary fashion. Am I the only one that think this way, or what going on? This thing gets to me, but this garbage has been going on. I didn't agree with it from the first day that it happened when PPM were doing it. I didn't agree with it. How you got run a country and you got go to the most cleanliness thing, you got go and cut that. Something that involves health, you got go and cut that. No man, and it's been almost 8 years now. And then neither government had come and said, well, we can try to collect it twice a week. Collect the garbage twice a week. I assure you that would keep down a lot of things.
Well,
because
we used to have
most garbage collection not big enough for 10 days.
Yeah, well, we used to have garbage collection once per week. I mean, twice per week. My apologies. In the Newland Savannah area, and then it changed to once per week. But we also have to accept that if we increase that, there also comes with an increased cost. I mean, you know, I don't know how much.
Well,
I don't know what their current budget is.
I don't mind. I don't know about that.
But you don't.
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't know about that. I wouldn't mind paying to get my garbage picked up. I mean, that's the reality of it. We live in the modern world.
I'm glad you said that, because remember when they used to charge and nobody was actually paying it, and so they dropped that completely because there was no way to get it paid. So
yeah, but if they don't pick it up, they'll have to leave it. If they don't pick it up, they'll have to leave it. Or okay, just
but they can't do that because
the
then that contributes to the very same problem.
The other one will give on a one. They'll give 1 week pick up, and then I got to pay for the next day. I mean, all right, or fine. For what you call it, allocate funds in one direction to fill our void. And the country is growing too. It's getting bigger, the population.
And that's definitely part of the problem.
So, yeah, that's another thing. So you can pick out the garbage. Like,
I don't know what's going on with the connection today, but gosh, the connection, even this is a regular phone call, the connection sounds very choppy today. He must be calling on WhatsApp. It says reconnecting. Huh. Not sure what's going on today, but the connection is very choppy. Hello, caller.
People just got to do it for free, you know?
All right.
Yeah, so that's about all I got to say. All right.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it. All right, folks. So some other people saying, Jim says some people are just nasty and there's no changing that. Wow, it's crazy. Jonathan says, you see, that's why I said I don't think they're doing a very good job. They make moving vehicles so complicated. They're stuck and they don't know how to get that done, then move forward to another task. Okay. Joseph says what they do at home, they do abroad. I agree with that. And I think that for me, this isn't an issue of Caymanians versus anybody else. But I, even to me, have to admit that even in my travels, even to New York, honey child, when you see the garbage on the side of the road and the oversized rats running up and down and all over the place, you have to appreciate the fact that garbage collection and maintenance and management all over the world is an issue. And some people, they're just used to that. They're just used to, but see, all of these pictures that I'm showing you guys on the screen right now, none of them are within regulation. None of these meet the standard for the Department of Environmental Health to pick them up. Not a single one. They're not being bagged up properly. So that's part of the problem, right? Look at this. The garbage bins with holes in them, which I mean, of course, we also have the issue of the DEH staff throwing people's bins down like I don't know what. But, you know, after a certain amount of time, folks, these bins are made of plastic. They do break. They do get holes in them. Listen, a lot of these holes are actually created by the rats. They're biting into the plastic of the garbage bin so they can get access to your food. I'll never forget, right? This just shows you sometimes how you don't even know what's going on right near your own yard. When I was in my apartment complex, when I had my apartment, we had a common garbage area. Again, it wasn't anywhere near big enough for when you were considering it was only 4 units, but each unit had at least 2 people living there, right? Never big enough. And same sort of thing. So one day I'm out there and I notice that we keep getting these holes in the bottom of the bin. And so I said to someone, what's causing these holes? And then I was enlightened and told that it is actually the rats like biting a hole in the garbage bin. Poor old me, child. I had no clue. I was like, what? Rats are biting holes in the garbage bin? Yes. So you go buy new garbage bins, they're going to bite holes in new garbage bins. So I said, oh, okay. So we got a rat problem and we got to take care of that. Tell me how to take care of that. What they had actually done, rats are actually pretty smart little critters. Let me tell you something. What they had actually done is they had built their den underneath. So they had burrowed into the ground. Honey chum, I never knew that rats could live underground. But they had burrowed, there's like a concrete slab that the garbage facility was built on. And then you had your little wooden, facility and the garbage bins and that. They had burrowed underneath the concrete slab. And under there, they were having their babies and had their little family life situation going on right underneath the garbage bin. So they were getting fed 24/7. They must have been nice and plump and fat and happy. They're smart. They did it right underneath the garbage bin. So once I discovered that they were actually underneath the garbage bin, I said, oh, right. So we need to now address this at the source of the problem. We need to take care of the rats. I called Department of Environmental Health, said I need some help catching some rats. And I don't mean the two-legged kind. These are actually, they have 4 legs, right? I had to think about this for a second. 4-legged rats. They came out. They will help you. They will put down the poison. Now you gotta be careful if you got dogs and other things, but they put the poison down and the rat problem promptly disappeared. But here's the other thing. And this is how everything has a knock-on effect. And sometimes we don't want to talk about why we're having a problem and where the knock-on effect actually happens. So next door to us was a empty lot. Y'all have property, you have these empty lots, overgrown to the point where the bush was all the way up to the CUC pole, okay? And no degree of like, oh, this person, whoever owns that lot, needs to be keeping it clear and nothing. So there were more rats, God only knows how many, actually living over in that bush that was next door to our apartment complex. And so, when we reached out to DEH, we said, well, what can be done about the state of this property next door, which is in such a poor condition? We're sure rats, roaches, God knows what else up in there. And they were like, well, the legal power that we have is to try to contact the owner of the property and ask them to tidy it up a little bit. And of course, the owner of the property, they're not going to clear it out. They're not going to do any of that. All they wanted to do was, just cut it back from the roadside just a little bit. So again, knock-on effect. The rats that had made and burrowed into, made a whole home underneath our garbage bin had come from the property next door. They just moved in a little bit closer to the source of the food. And that's what they do. So, Ms. Ramirez sending pictures saying no rat did this with broken up bins. Listen, bins take a licking. Sometimes they keep on ticking. But the truth of the matter is as well, is that you all have got to be prepared, folks, to actually replace your bins on occasion. They do not last forever. And so there's some of them that is made out of very, very cheap material as well. So they're not going to last any amount of time, to be honest. So consider replacing your bins. If you have tenants, consider talking to your tenants about the necessity to keep the garbage on the exterior of the house clean. Like I said, I have to wonder how they're keeping the inside. Jim says, and those guys mowing the roadways, trash should be picked up prior to the mow, but instead it's mowed and shredded. Trash is scattered everywhere, blowing everywhere, including into the sea. And unfortunately, a lot of these guys with the blowers, the lawn people, they're lazy. They don't rake up anything and put in a bag anymore. They just blow it. And where do you think it goes if you're blowing it? It doesn't blow into thin air. It actually goes somewhere else. Scott, good morning, Scott. How you been? Scott says, I hear his point. Either get rid of all the chickens or pick up the garbage more often. Both DEH responsibility. DEH says that they have nothing to do with the chickens. I should inform you all. Listen very, very carefully, because I have some chickens in my neighborhood that I need to be gone. They're quite a nuisance. I contacted DEH. They said, nope, call somebody else. Call environmental health. Call Department of Agriculture. I emailed Department of Agriculture. They said, contact DEH. I'm like, I did already. So neither of them can help you with your chicken problems. So You got to get a private person to come and cull chickens in the neighborhood for you. Gabby says hire more people. People need jobs. Siobhan says she agreed that the garbage trucks could do more pickup. Aliana says the problem is the landlord or the people renting. We be telling renters to stop throwing food in the trash, and they still do but they still do stop throwing out one bag a day, but they still do but else do we expect from people from poor-minded countries? Aliano, if you are a landlord, and I do think, again, depending on where you come from, if you're used to that kind of thing, you don't see anything wrong with it, unfortunately, right? The state of the garbage on the roadways and so forth. But if you're a landlord and you can't control your own tenants by levying fines, eviction warnings, and so on, what are you trying to tell me? You got to sometimes rule with an iron fist when it comes to these tenants. Put the garbage out in a proper bag. But it's also your responsibility as a landlord to make sure there is sufficient, because hello, some of y'all have cut up your houses where a house that was intended for maybe 3 people is now housing 20 people. And if you allow that in your household, then I think you have got to make the bin space bigger and maybe get the industrial bins and make that available. Because there's only so much that a singular garbage bin can hold. You know, we're a one family household. We ain't got no renters up in here. And sometimes, like around Christmas time, when we're doing more cooking, we have more stuff, our garbage area gets a little bit busting at the seams. Miss Sophia says, Miss Sandy, point is that they need more runs and people need to build bigger bin holders. And they need to keep those in better condition. So Mr. Amelia supplied this video as well.
You remember the picture, Jonathan, that I took the other night with him coming out of the bush with the people garbage bags? This is the shit that I have to deal with every day driving into my yard. This is the shit that I have to deal with. He needs to stop. I begged him, I said, listen, if you're taking people garbage out of their bin, fine. You want to dig up and see what's in it? Fine. I can't stop you from doing that. But don't do this. Leave the bag and then the dogs, they're in the food in there. The dogs rips it apart. And this is oh my God. This is what I got to deal with, okay? Enough. I can't take it anymore.
But who's doing
this man, Loch Lagole, he lives down on this road. Okay? He lives in there. He even put up garbage bins. So whoever's doing it
has a bin there. Looks like it's empty.
You know, he put a garbage bin there. It's telling you, fine. There's a garbage bin there. Put it in that for me, please. I beg you. He even put up a camera. That's a camera right here. That's how bad he had got. He even put up a camera to see who it is. This is disgusting. I had enough. Please, somebody help me before I go to jail.
Wow. So, you know, this is the nastiness that people are having to deal with in their homes. Quite discouraging, to be quite frank and honest. And we see it all the time. Every single neighborhood, there's always that one house that has way too many tenants living in it in your neighborhood. And you can tell based on the amount of garbage and what you see in the garbage bin. So I don't know, my dear. I tell you, what a mess. All right, folks. Do we need to start, making them jackasses of the day and posting them up as well to shame them into doing a little bit better with their garbage bin situation? I don't know. Vicky says they're landlords who also don't clean their garbage bin. And listen, y'all are looking for business. There is a company, and I'm sure there's lots of scope out there, who actually goes around and cleans garbage bins and desanitizes them for you. And they're more than happy to do that. It's a relatively, inexpensive fee. Maybe y'all need to be contacting those people who offer that service and say, hey, can you come out and do this for me? Miss Amelia again. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning again, darling. I think what needs to happen, Sandy, especially at these apartment complex, we have a lot of apartment complex, especially here in Windsor Park, where the bin is not big enough. And they have these 30-gallon bins for these apartment. The breeze, the chickens go in, and the garbage is flown all over the community. I think that it needs to be enforced that these apartment complex, or people that chops up their homes and make so many little rooms and have so many people living in these homes, that the little bins they have outside is not enough for them to contain the garbage. There's something needs to be done. I mean, there's lots of ways to look to attack this, because if planning was to intervene, for God in heaven knows, we've been trying to get planning to intervene into things like this, but there has this thing that, if it's been like that for past 5 years, then there's nothing they can do according to the law. You understand? So, I mean, if they was to get out and when people inform them of situations that like this has happened, even before the 5 years are up, they still refuse to come out and do their jobs and say, well, I mean, play hand in hand with DEH and let's get the place in order. You understand? But you can never get planning and DCI to do their jobs, because they are the main factors in these kind of things that causes these kind of things. You understand, with littering about the island. You report to DCI regarding illegal garages. And God knows I'm tired of sending them information of where we have illegal garages on island. And they would go, but they went out there and they don't see any signs of illegal garage activity when you provide them with photos and everything of what's going on. What I've come to the conclusion is like these people are hired to do nothing. They do not like to go out there and do what they're being paid for. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop. I mean, from East End to West Bay, I have been out with DEH, and DEH can do certain, amount and no more that the law permits them. If it falls under planning needs to take up their duties and go and deal with it. If it falls under DCI, likewise. You understand? But everybody just likes to be in office, drinking coffee and eating crackers and minding people's business instead of getting out there and doing the job that they are hired to do. If that was done, we would see Cayman would be much nicer and cleaner, because they would be putting the charging people for the wrongdoings that they are doing, that creating this kind of mess in our island. You understand? So it's basically DCI and planning needs to get out there and get on the ball. You understand? And I feel that if something have been reported with planning before the 5 years is up, it should, whether the 5 year pass or not, I feel that it should continue to be investigated and dealt with, because it was reported before the 5 years was up. But that's the excuse they slapped you with.
Thank you, my dear.
It's disgusting. All right, my darling.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it. So a few more comments coming in here, and then I want to talk about the bus depot situation. So Miss Brenda says you're absolutely correct. That's what is breaking up the bins. I've watched them. They've destroyed many of mine. If the garbage collectors would handle them properly, the breakage wouldn't happen. Strong Will says my garbage bins are destroyed because of the garbage collectors. Sometime if I find my bins down the road, sometimes I find my bins down the road at the neighbor's gate. What a hot mess. Shan, good morning, says these dogs, whether yours or neighborhood, they're ready for war with them full rubbish bins. So they're fighting you for the food at the rubbish bins. My God. Again, whole other topic, but people need to take better care of their animals when they have them and don't let them roam around causing havoc in the neighborhood. No dog should be eating out the garbage. Sofina says, Anna, better leave those chickens alone. See how things are going soon. We'll have to start eating them. Well, I wish to God y'all would eat them, because like I said, come in my neighborhood. I got at least 100 for you that you could take away. I mean, everywhere you go. I was thinking about this yesterday as I was walking in town, because they cock-a-doodle doing all over the damn place. And I was wondering how many of them you think we actually have in Cayman? Do you think it's like a couple 100,000? Because you can't go anywhere and not see a chicken, a rooster, the babies. I mean, they are like literally everywhere. Shan says industrial bins are key in this topic. So maybe we do need to have that. Of course, Irvlin says, I don't keep garbage at my house. I take it to work in the mornings and my guys take it to the dump. Well, I guess not everybody can go to the dump, Evelyn, and they might not have, I know some people have like a commercial bin at work, maybe where their business is located. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, honey chill. So we'll certainly pass on your comments to Mr. Sim this morning about his guys in the garbage bin, but I'm sure some of these sanitation workers, as they're called, can hear the comments from the community. And, we're asking you to be a little bit gentler. But, I think the problem is they cover so many homes and they see so much foolishness that they probably really fed up too. And they just not taking care with your bins. And of course, that impacts everyone. Evelyn says that people are not disposing of their garbage properly. And those are all pictures of prime examples of how it has not been done. Landscaping companies, again, blowing dirt in the streets. Yep, same problem. Ms. Brenda says, build garage receptacles with covers on them. That's a big help for those that can. Ramsdale Rankin builds beautiful ones. I don't know if I've really seen any of those, but okay. Jonathan says, I'm going to give the garbage man a little bly in the garbage bin when they just throw them down. That's just how it goes sometimes. We all have our part to play. All right, Aliano says, yes, it has one thing to be strict or heavy-handed, but these renters are just ignorant and lack class. You see? That way some of us can't really be in the rental business, and we certainly can't rent to certain people because you got to have standards. Even as a landlord, you can't make other people force you to be a slumlord. You know what I'm saying? So you got to bring them up to your standards, not have them drag you down to theirs. And I think that there's something to be said for that. And that might mean that you got to start being a little bit more, cautious on who you're picking, choosing, and refusing. But of course, the rental market, the rental culture for what it is, certainly means that you can't be renting a hole in the wall and expect to get people who are actually going to care about keeping the place clean either. So this is very much a two-way street, and it goes in both directions. Speaking of renters, let's give you an update then on what happened in court yesterday. Judith Douglas, a.k.a. Molly Ann, a.k.a. Kim, a.k.a. Francia, whatever other names that she's going by, she has actually been charged. Now, this case has moved so fast. Even to me, I'm a little bit shocked and surprised at how quickly the police are moving. They just arrested her on Sunday, and they have already charged her, in part because the evidence is pretty overwhelming, y'all. This don't require a whole lot of investigation. Like I said, I'm sending them the PDF, actually it's an Excel document with all of the names and numbers of at least 20 people that have been scammed with her, all the receipts. I'm going to send them the Dropbox link. Here's your case, investigation done. You put it together for court and bam, you got yourself a conviction. Yes, my dear. They charged her. I don't even know how many offenses. I don't think they've given a specific amount yet. And they are now, they now have her in court. So she made her first court appearance yesterday. Here's the problem. A lot of you, and like I said, I really do my best to try to educate people, folks, on how this works. Because unfortunately, you guys simply do not understand. And this is maybe no fault of your own. If you've never been exposed to the judicial system, then you just don't know, how it works. So they've arrested her, they've charged her. When somebody gets charged, the first thing they have to do is they have to go before the court. She is actually in police custody. So she's not yet gotten bail, okay? Her attorney will certainly have the opportunity to make a bail application for her. I don't know if that will be done. I was told it was not done yesterday. A lot of times they don't do it at the first court appearance because they need to have a proper meeting with their client, and then they need to figure out how they can actually make a bail argument. I believe that the problem that Judith is going to have is that she was already out on probation for other theft convictions. And so I'm not so sure whether bail will be granted. There are people who are saying that she's wearing an ankle bracelet. Now, I don't know if she actually was on an ankle monitor or not, but she's got a problem. She's a repeat offender. So she's a repeat offender who the prosecution could very well make the argument that the second she's released, she's going to be out there hoodwinking more people and taking advantage of more people and committing more crimes. So one of the things that they look at for a bail application is how likely is this person, if they get bail, to go out there and commit more offenses. In Molly Ann's case, the woman can't help herself, honey child. She'll be out in the streets stealing from people again. Whether it's an immigration fraud, landlord fraud, I don't know, but that's what she's going to be doing. So I was told that about 5 of the victims showed up to court yesterday, but all of them are still messaging me saying, when can I get my money? And I feel really, really bad. One guy, he owns a company, one of his workers was one of her victims. He reached out yesterday as well. What can we do about this worker of mine getting her money back? What I can tell you is it's not likely to happen. You guys know I try to be real with you in a non-apologetic way. The chances of you getting your money back are slim to none. Because she doesn't have the money. You can't squeeze money from a rock. So she doesn't have the money. Where is the money going to come from? Does she have any assets? The vehicle that she's driving up and down in, I'm told that that's not even in her name. This is a problem. Because if she didn't even own the place that she was hoodwinking people with to rent, and did y'all see the pictures of that, by the way? Hold on a second now. Let me show y'all the pictures, because I can't believe that she was charging rent. I mean, from the pictures the outside, the inside, I guess, don't look too bad. I'm going to show y'all the actual address. We got some pictures of the location, so I'm going to show those to you. But geez, on peace, I'm like, this is what people charging all $2,000 for? Really? Oh no, honey child. Not me. Oh God. Sometimes you just have to go out there and find a place to rent, child. Because these landlords, they be trying to charge you top dollar for a little hole in the walls. Not even the rats want to be living there. Okay. So this is where it is. Number 55 Douglas Way. Off of Diaz Lean. Somebody said it's pronounced differently. Caymanians not pronouncing it like Spanish people, so I don't know what else they call it. Diaz Lean or something, I don't know. But this is the house in the front. Looks like a little old Cayman style house. But it's behind there, the kind of pinky, peachy house in the back. That's where she was renting out. But again, I'm told she doesn't own it. So if she doesn't own it, who owns it? Which family members? She spent your money already. I hate to tell you, but I don't believe the possibility of you getting your money back is a likely thing to happen. This is really, really horrible. What this woman has done to people. Up to last night, I had somebody messaging and begging me, please, miss, help us get our money back. I'm just like, there's only so much that can be done. Apparently, someone's saying her sister Pat from Credit Union owns it. See what this person says. Hi, Miss Sandy. Can you help us to get our money back from Molly Douglas? We're going to be homeless on the 19th, and we don't have any money on us because of her. I hope the government can help us or help us in a way to make contact with the government. Oh my God, what this woman has done to people is just really, really horrible. She was even promising people that she was going to put them up at different places. Some people went and expended themselves even more because, go and rent a place on 7 Mile Beach. Here the joke now, because she's going to reimburse you and she's going to refund you. No, she's not. No intentions of doing that whatsoever. Oh, these poor people. It's just So the reality is you're not likely to get your money back if she has no money. The vehicles are not in her name. Now, wait a minute. She is married. So this is what I'm thinking. Victims, listen to me very, very carefully. Right? She's married and she has a spouse. Marital assets. So it can't be in his name alone. So even if he has a place, somebody claim he live in there too. Well, if he's married, there is a legal connection between the two parties that you might be able to sue both of them. Sue the husband while you're at it. He has a good job over NRA. Go ahead and sue him. Collect your money one way or the other, honey child. Yep. Somebody got money. She mightn't have it. What was she spending this money on? I have so many questions about this. I don't know how much asset tracing the police will be able to do on her, but over $50,000 in a couple months? Girl, what were you spending the money on? Does she have a drug habit that we don't know about? Because that's a lot of money. And you have a place to stay. So where was it being spent? I don't know. Something stinks around you. Someone says Pat and Wanda own it. They better get to him before he leaves. Oh, apparently she has a gambling problem. Oh, okay. So she's one of those people that we want to legalize gambling for so she can steal even more to support her gambling problem. What a mess. Wow. Those of you who are gambling addicts, you're like drug addicts. You will find a way to find money. So she likes to buy numbers and stuff like that, right? I got you. Clearly not winning. I mean, really. Oh my God. What a hot mess. This person says, thank you, Miss Sandy. I have another two guys that I met yesterday. Problem is they have no receipts, only full conversation written in Tagalog, total of 10 from their side. Thank you, Miss Sandy, for supporting the Filipino community as well. So this is the other one now with the immigration scam. Remember Leon called the other day from Killian Recruitment Services or whatever, claiming that this was not done under him. This is what Leon claimed, but I can tell you what, Leon, I've seen receipts now that are from your company email, Killian, whatever. I've seen receipts from that company. I've seen receipts on Killian's letterhead and acknowledgement of money from Danilyn Generilla, whatever the heck her name is, of Killian Workforce Solutions. So although you tried to distance your company from this hot mess, I can tell you that it's not looking very good because they have the proof and the receipts of your company being the company that whether you blindly allowed it to happen or not, you could now be held liable for. So it's not enough that you're saying to these poor Filipino people who are out of thousands of dollars that, oh, you're going to put them in contact with this woman who took their money and trying to help them get the money back. That's not enough. Because if you own the company, even if it's just on paper, because y'all be fronting for people and it's going to catch up with you. So even if you just own this company on paper, that is enough to make you legally liable to these people in the Philippines. And if they had any sense, they would go and download the small claims handbook that is available for free. And it tells you step by step how you take somebody to summary court and how you sue them for your money. People, Caymanians, Jamaicans, Filipinos, Hondurans, I don't care where you're from. Know your rights. Do not allow people to take advantage of you. Stand up. And if that means sometimes you got to take them to a court of law and sue them, then so be it. You do just that. Now, I know these are small amounts. That's why you're not going to hire no lawyer. You're going to refer yourself to the small claims court. It's only $25 to get the ball rolling and to file the lawsuit. And in there, you include your costs as well. And your cost means that, you know, whatever you put into filing of the papers, that sort of thing, you will get that back. A lot of these cases are very simple. They're open and shut. You probably get a default judgment. Get on it. Anybody needs the small claims handbook, you just WhatsApp me and I'll get it to you. So Strong Will says, that's not fair for the husband. Probably he didn't know what was going on. Honey child, in life, not everything is fair. When you get married to someone that you already know is a lifelong crook and thief, and you pretty much can rest assured that they will never change their ways, when you marry that person, you take on the risk that comes with that. And you can be held accountable as well if there are marital assets. That's all I'm saying. So if there's a marital home, but it seems like what she did was she was a little bit smartish with how she was doing it, because everything down to the very vehicles, nothing is in a joint name or shared name. It's simply in the husband's name. So that might be a little bit trickier. But hear Miss Strongwill now. You can't be married to people like that. I don't care if they're Caymanian or who they are. Knowing what kind of person they are, what kind of activity they are, stay married to them for the benefits that come with it, aka you get to have RERC, eventually status and whatever, and you're not even in a relationship with them. You out here running around the streets with a Spanish woman and got a child with her. Then divorce Judith, Molly Ann Douglas. Married a Spanish woman or not? I mean, I don't care. But why are you staying married to her and getting an immigration benefit, but you're not going to take on the responsibility that comes with when your wife is out there stealing from people and defrauding people? That can't work, so. Yeah, it's both ways, honey child, the good and the bad. What them vows say, till death do us part, in sickness and health, and what else did it say? Can't remember now. Sickness and health, something about wealth and poorness or something, and crookedness. I need to put that in there for some of y'all too. And the allegations that she gets paid to keep that marriage intact. So y'all sit there talking about he can't be held responsible. Hold him responsible. Anyway, okay. Yes, honey, chill. We gotta do better. All right, so listen now. This person says, remember the situation I told you about with the former immigration officer? Well, Mr. Edwards called me last night crying that she hasn't reached back to him. Oh my God. All right, honey child, she's gonna have to get exposed here shortly too. Oh my God. Y'all, I really don't take any pleasure in having to put people, on blast, especially when y'all are defrauding people. I really, it pains me to have to do it. But if I have to do it, then I have to do it. Y'all need to stop taking people money when you know you have no intentions of doing what you're supposed to be doing. Methamphetamine, what a hot mess. Oh Lord, we're gonna have to leave the drug conversation until tomorrow, because that's a whole other deep hole. All right, so listen now. I'm dealing with something for somebody else here. They found a piece of glass and a cake that they ordered. There's just so much. Let me talk now. Somebody says, when she got the 30 grand from us years ago from the immigration fraud, the word on the road says that the husband got most of the money and he is why she did it. Huh. Okay. So if that's the case, I mean, like I said, you may not be able to prove that, but I think that at the end of the day, I think y'all might want to look at joint assets very, very carefully. I think you might have the possibility of some recovery there. Like I said, I don't know where she'd be spending that kind of money. That's a lot of money to blow through in a couple months. Oh, mess. All right, let's talk about the bus drivers. We got about 15 minutes left in the program. So after yesterday's show, I went out there as I promised them I would. I said I was coming. I'm on my way. And I get there. And of course, go to Facebook. You can see the interview, the live stream that we did with them. So what happened was on Friday, they said that all of a sudden they started getting called into the public transport unit, and they were being issued citations saying that you're not going to your proper route, right? So I must admit that I'm not really a person that uses buses, so I can't speak to how the whole bus system works. But bus number 2s, from what I understood, are supposed to go from West Bay straight to the waterfront and then return to the bus depot there across from right next to the public library, right? And the situation was that they were taking Eastern Avenue and then maybe going to the waterfront if they needed to, and then coming. So apparently last week, the minister spoke to the public transport unit, maybe a week or two ago, might not have exactly been last week, a week or two ago, told them that, these buses are not following their route. There has been a report that has been commissioned to really gauge why people don't use the bus system, okay? And of course, people don't use the bus system for a variety of different reasons, but it's already identified some couple, people running late, safety and security issues, some of the bus drivers, being on the phone, not driving safely, so people don't feel comfortable. Reliability is probably a big one, like the bus doesn't show up at a particular time. So the minister has this viewpoint that the public transport unit needs to start correcting some of these deficiencies, which is fair enough. Needs to start correcting some of these deficiencies that exist in the current transportation system. Eventually, they may, depending on what the report says, have, right now the buses are it's like privately owned. These bus drivers own their buses. They're responsible for the maintenance, the gas, and this is some of their complaints. So I think there's a good argument for government potentially taking this completely out of their control. And I'll tell you maybe another day, logistically and financially, why that could make more sense. But as it is now, they own their buses and they're responsible. They make their money fair, and then that has to pay themselves plus all the other stuff. So they're not supposed to be going on Eastern Avenue. Well, here's the problem. This is the number 2 route. Here's the problem. Apparently, they've been doing this for many, many years. I don't know exactly how long, but definitely under the last administration, the progressives, nobody enforced it. The public transport unit didn't enforce it. The public transport board didn't say to the public transport unit, you need to enforce this. So you allow someone through their actions, right? In law, it's called acquiesce. Like you, although you might have on paper that, okay, this is a rule under this tenancy agreement or under this agreement, but you acquiesce to the behavior. You allow them to do it. You never complain about it. You never said, no, this is not allowable. You don't issue them any warnings, any notices, nothing. And people get used to doing that. So for years, the number 2 buses have been going to Eastern Avenue and dropping people off. So apparently, the public transport unit got this directive from the minister that this has to change. And this is one of the things that they're slowly going to start making some changes. And so on Friday, they implemented it and they started writing citations. So they call people in, or you were seen in public, or you were seen, somebody took a plate. I guess they sent out little spies. Somebody took a picture of you on Eastern Avenue and you're not supposed to be on Eastern Avenue. Now, here's where my issue with this is, right? I don't have an issue with rules and regulations. Y'all know that already. We all have to live by some degree of rules in life. I don't have an issue with that. But I have an issue that it was never properly communicated to the bus drivers. There was no dialogue. There was nothing in writing. So all of a sudden, something that you have acquiesced to for years, you up and change. And the way that you notify people to change is you start writing them up and you tell them that after 3 citations, they're going to be suspended. So people on Friday were shocked to see that they were getting citations, and it was upon receipt of the citation that then they were told, oh yeah, you're getting this citation because, you're not supposed to be taking this route, and that's on your license, so you should know that. Not so fast, Speedy Gonzalez. No. Pump the brakes. A lack of communication from a government department, a government unit, and the government board. Oh, no. That's not world-class civil service. Y'all would be making Mr. Franz Manderson very ashamed today, honey child. He's always be trying to brag about his world-class civil servants. World-class civil servants know the importance of good communication. Am I right or am I right? They know that if you're going to now all of a sudden start with strict enforcement of something that you've never strictly enforced before, the least you could do, the minimum you could do is give people notice that it's coming. In the next week, as of this date, we will no longer allow you guys to bypass this route or to go, go that way or whatever. It was never communicated. How slack can you be? These bus drivers are not mind readers. So I was confused yesterday initially. I'm like, what do you mean y'all didn't know? How can you not know? Well, they didn't tell us, Sandy. All we knew is we started to get citations. So I think that, so obviously I was there with them. We did the live stream. They had a 12:30 meeting scheduled. They asked me to come to the meeting. So honey child, I got to ride in the bus. That's the first time I've been on a bus in a really long time. So I got to ride in the bus with all the other workers. There was like 10 buses on strike. And we went to the meeting. Now, when we got to the meeting, the minister, Mr. Strand-Bodden was there. Mr. Dirk, somebody or another, he's head of the public transport unit. He was there and others. And I was told by the minister that I could not be in the meeting because I'm not their legal representative, and he saw me as a member of the media. And I said, well, I'm actually wearing a different hat today. And he said, nope, the meeting's not going to go on. I said to the bus drivers, I said, listen, this isn't about me. It's about you guys. And you guys want a resolution. According to them, they've not had any meetings with the public transport unit. Like, they don't have meetings for these bus drivers ever. One guy's been there for 23 years. And he said, maybe in those 23 years, he has heard about 2 meetings. I'm like, what? You don't have annual meetings, quarterly meetings, nothing with the bus drivers? What kind of show y'all running? No wonder that when they decided to increase the fees, they thought they could just stick up a sign and just do it that way, because nobody's meeting with them to enforce, like, okay, these are the rules. This is how we're operating. How are things going? Get their feedback. This is like a two-way street. Simple stuff isn't being done. And this isn't really on the minister. These are the so-called civil servants now that I'm talking about. Although I must admit, if I were minister, I would be asking those questions like, oh, well, when was the last meeting? Do you have any meeting minutes? Blah, blah, blah. None of that has taken place. So they had a meeting yesterday, and I'm like, listen, I'm not going to be the reason for any degree of posturing in the world why this meeting isn't going to go forward today, because this could mean a resolution for you guys. So the minister doesn't want me there? Okay. He was in Barbados, and he was calling in on, they had him on the phone, right? So I said, no problem. I'm going to get up and leave. Of course, they were my ride there, so I had to sit in the reception area trying to wait for them. I said, I'll get up and leave, and you guys do what you got to do. So lo and behold, after the minister heard from them, which they'd been saying from the whole time, that 90% of the people that they pick up in West Bay have to go on the Eastern Avenue route in any event. Either they live in that area, like Swamp, Rock Hole, whatever, they access it from Eastern Avenue, or they work in that area. So why are they bypassing people in the street from the West Bay pickup saying, oh no, if you have to go on Eastern Avenue, we can no longer drop you there? So apparently the ministry found out something new that they didn't know. Heaven forbid, like I said, they could have been having meetings and communicating with these bus drivers. The public transport unit, and I have meetings, nobody, they didn't know what was going on. So when they heard that, the minister said, well, in that case, we will once again acquiesce and allow you to continue to drop people off on Eastern Avenue. So it went right back to what they were doing. Now, supposedly, they're going to go back to a board meeting and codify that. Like, the board is going to say, we're approving this change for bus route number 2, and then it's going to be all legit. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sandra. I'm listening to the bus issue. I just want to say this morning, I don't think that the West Bay buses have an issue. I think they've been running well for many years in what they do. My issue is, because I used to live in West Bay for 14 years, and I take the bus, and I never had an issue with a bus going and coming from West Bay. Unfortunately, I end up in the district of Northside, situations beyond my control. And I don't have a car at the moment, and I have to take the bus from Northside to get into Georgetown. So some mornings where we live, where Melrose live, my sister, I have to walk from here to Chisholm supermarket and wait there to hopefully get a ride or a bus. And then if the bus comes, then they'll transport me in town. Sometimes I be there from as early as 9 in the morning up until 11 o'clock. I still don't see a bus. So that the issue with West Bay should not be a problem for the transport board. The issue is the Eastern District. In the evenings coming up, you have Busco Eastern Queens Highway, you have Busco Eastern Northside, you have number 8 coming to Northside, you have number 7, whatever, however they have it, go wherever. I took the bus several times, and the drivers for Eastern Queens Highway would leave me in Bodden Town and said to me, we're not going no further than Bodden Town. And I was like, this is not right. You're supposed to go into Queens Highway. So if you will bring me as far as Northside gas station, I'll be okay there, because I know you don't go to Kaibo N or Rum Point N, because I think it's only the number 8 bus that go there. So for the transport board to look at the West Bay buses with their issue, they need to stop. They need to concentrate on the Eastern District side of the country, where the drivers, a couple nights ago after 7, I took a bus that come in Eastern Northside. The driver left me off in Bodden Town, in the middle of nowhere in Bodden Town. And I was like, I'm going to Northside though. And he said, Miss Donna, my problem, I want to go in far as Bodden Town, and I tell you that I want to go in far as Bodden Town for my stop at the depot and pick up the people. And he said, Bodden Town, only Bodden Town, but your bus say Eastern Queens Highway though. So if you coming through Frankson area to go to Queens Highway, I can get off there and get my way home. Why are you leaving me in Bodden Town? And of course, you talk to the bus transport people, which I did. And the guy that I spoke with said to me, don't come off the bus, sit on the bus and call 911 or call the police. How can I do that when the driver insists that he or she is not going their full route? So how does that work though? And it happens mostly in the evening time. During the day, it's not so bad, but mostly in the evening time, after 3, 4 o'clock in the evenings is when you'll hear the Eastern District driver said, I'm not going all the way. This is as far as I go. If you want to have 2 number 8 or 3 number 8 bus that comes all the way up to Cayman, Kai or Wrong Point, we don't see them. Only one out of them, one out of that, them 3 number 8 bus, which is a guy by the name of Chris, that will run his full route. The rest of the drivers do not run their full route. They stop either in Bodden Town, Belford Estate, and they go down in one little side road right there. So, and they park because the transport board know the hour, how much time frame it takes to leave town, to go through Northside, to go through Queens Highway, to come back down. So they sit in the bush in Belford or somewhere about along that route and sit there and wait until it's close to their time. And then they push out by calling another driver that they know should be coming up or going down at that time, how the road stay, how it look, how it this, how it that. So they're fighting against each other at the end of the day, and they're also not running the route that they're supposed to run in the Eastern District. And I said, West Bay is not the issue. West Bay drivers need to be left alone, because West Bay drivers have been doing their job for quite a while. And that would be so stupid of the ministry or the minister to stop their number 2 buses to come through Eastern Avenue, because that's the only money they make. going on the waterfront, they don't make any money going in, they make it coming back in. So leave them and allow them to do that part of it. That's not their concern. West Bay now, their concern is the Eastern District is their concern. And yes, you do have transport officers sit at the top of the Frankstown Road Junction there by the dock. And as one driver passed, he called and said, look out, officers here. So they don't have no choice at that point to just run their full route at the end of the day, because they hear that an officer is sitting there. But as long as there's no officer there and no transport officers on the road, they're not carrying you no further than Bodden Town. They're throwing the people them out on the road in Bodden Town, and they're not going any further. So that is the issue that we need to start looking at the Eastern District. Why is it that people in the Eastern District cannot really get a bus towed in from their hometown?
All right. Thank you, caller. So quite a few people in the comment section agreeing with that caller, saying that this is a concept problem, but in particular, the Eastern districts are where the complaints are. And mindful now of the fact that one of the things the bus drivers said yesterday is they could understand if somebody was complaining about their route, but they don't have any complaints about the fact that they go on Eastern Avenue. But meanwhile, lots of complaints coming in from people who have to go East End, North Side. The North Side bus don't want to go all the way into North Side, or people who have to go to East End get dropped off in North Side. That's where the complaints are, but that's not where the public transport unit decided to do any degree of enforcement. Very, very ironic indeed. And so all I can say is now they reverted back to, at least for the guys going at Eastern Avenue, and saw the logic of why they were going that route, because that's what the customer was demanding. Now, if the routes were set 15, 20, 30 years ago, and things have changed since then, there should be a review. And I don't know, again, I don't know what this public transport board or unit even does. Trust and believe. However, I would think that they should spend some time in dialogue with the bus drivers, trying to understand what it is that the customers want. What routes are customers demanding? What routes are they using, et cetera, et cetera. All this stuff has to be fixed before we can talk about, oh, we're going to seriously tackle traffic in this country. There has to be a fixing of the entire bus system, of the routes, the fares. You know, these guys are saying with the cost of gas, $80, $90 to fill up their vehicles every couple of days. They're only $2. They've not gotten a pay increase in 20 years for the bus fare. That's not fair to them either, because the cost of living has gone up substantially in 20 years. How can they continue to operate on bus fares from 20 years ago when the year now is 2023? There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of elements to it. The solution might be to have government take this over and pay bus drivers an hourly rate or monthly salary. And so then you just apply for a job, you show up to the job. That way you don't have to worry about the maintenance of your vehicle. You don't have to worry about safety concerns, seat belts, all those things are in government. Government has to ensure that those vehicles are properly outfitted with what is required. And you just show up to work. You show up to work your shift, you clock in and out, and you do your job. You go on your route. Get some proper bus stops so that people can, sit in a little bit of shade when they have to wait on the bus. So lots of things, folks, I think with that public transport unit that really need to be worked out and fixed. It appeared to me that this was the least of their worries. They were trying to fix the most minor thing possible, and it turned up blowing up in their faces. Miss Darlene McKenzie, good morning, says, first of all, Cameron says we need a bus stop in Bodden Town, then change bus to Georgetown. Darlene says management may not be communicating with the low workers, such as bus drivers. Running the department, ask FOMAS, and how they want and when they want. This morning, buses behind buses like a motorcade heading into West Bay. And workers that had to be to work at 8 a.m. were stranded. And yesterday morning, the same thing, because they were on strike and the passengers were not informed and they were late for work. And I do know that people were late for work yesterday because of the situation. Miss Bonnie agrees with that caller, saying that the route out east is ridiculous. Miss Sue says if people work Industrial Park, they make people get dropped off by Foster's Airport, and that's so wrong. I mean, we got to figure out the whole bus route situation, but you also have to be realistic that no matter how many buses you have and whatever size or whatever, you can't have a bus that is going to drop people to their front door. That's not how really bus routes work, not even into the United States of America. So sometimes you're lucky and your front door is very close to an official like bus stop, and otherwise you're going to have to walk. You might have your groceries in hand or whatever, and you're going to have to walk. So I myself, having used the bus system in the US, will know that, the bus, thankfully the bus wasn't far from my aunt's house. It was actually right across the street, so I didn't have to walk very far. But if it was up the road or you missed a stop, you weren't paying attention, you missed your stop, you had to get off at the next designated spot. He wasn't going to take me to my front door, and then I had to walk it from there. So lots of expectations. Miss Rose says some of the number 3 bus drivers ignore me on the road because they know I'm going to Airport Road. Oh my gosh, what a mess. All right, well, happy to report that situation was rectified yesterday. The minister listened to the bus drivers, and it was a very quick and, I dare say, painless resolution as well. Tomorrow, we have the Premier coming on the program for Premier Access. Please join in. He had some engagements today. I know normally he's here on Thursdays, every other Thursday, but he had some other engagements, so he was not able to make it on today's program. We'll spend some time tomorrow talking about this fentanyl bust, because there's a couple of things that have come up as a result of that, including a lot of you are asking the first question I asked when I heard 2 Jamaican men and 1 Caymanian, and the 2 Jamaican men have extensive criminal records. I'm like, excuse me, why are they still in my country? You're welcome to come in my country if you're a law-abiding citizen and you can respect the laws of this country. Once you have a conviction, why are you here? You need to go. And on a business with who you are, where you're from, or how much money you have, you need to go. You can't respect the rules of the Cayman Islands. Even if you're a millionaire, be gone, bye-bye, adios, sayonara, get the hell out. Okay? Stay tuned for your news buzz from Kevin Watler. Y'all have a fantastic day. I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Hello, I'm Kevin Watler, and this is your CMR Daily Buzz. Here's a summary of some of Cayman's latest headlines. The Ministry of Health and Wellness says rumors on flight restrictions due to an Ebola virus disease outbreak is false and was not released by the ministry. The misinformation being circulated by email and on WhatsApp states that the new Ebola virus was detected locally in tourists, and as such, measures to restrict passengers and airlines would be coming into effect later this month. There's widespread concern in the community as people are worried that the hazardous drug fentanyl will wreak havoc if it becomes easily accessible in the Cayman Islands. Commissioner of Police Derek Burns said 34 reports of suspected drug overdoses, primarily over-the-counter prescription drugs, were made to the police last year. A man riding an electric bicycle was killed in a collision early yesterday morning near Queen's Court. The driver of a Jeep Cherokee involved in the crash was arrested after his breath tested positive for alcohol. CMR has been informed that the victim is Abel Hivet, who moved to the Cayman Islands from Italy recently. Judith Molly Ann Douglas, who was arrested in a rent scam after CMR posted about her numerous schemes, has now been charged with 5 counts of obtaining property by deception. Douglas, who goes by various names, appeared in court yesterday morning. Now for your CMR weather update. It's brought to you by WG Charters. Sunrise at 6:39. Partly cloudy skies are expected when the temperature is at 83 degrees Fahrenheit and humidity at 63% like the forecast calls for. It will feel like it's in the high 80s. Winds east-northeast at 10 to 20 miles per hour, and the sun sets at 6:33. At nighttime, the temperature falls to the mid-70s. Looking forward, similar weather conditions are expected. If you would like to know more on any of these stories, visit CaymanMallRoad.com or follow Cayman Mall Road on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. That's it for now on the Daily Buzz. Thank you for joining me. Please stay safe, and God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Cold Hard Truth on Bobo 89.1 FM. Cayman's #1 talk show is live weekdays from 7:30 a.m. Never miss an episode again. Watch anytime on CMR's Facebook and YouTube channels for the latest show episodes. Don't forget to follow us online on our social media channels. And visit CaymanMarlRoad.com for all the latest news and community happenings.